the pre-show to the last show.
The pre-show to end all pre-shows.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time. It's been a long moment of Shadowverse casting, and you stole my Olivia statue.
I've had it for like the past few weeks, I feel like.
No.
It's
Check
been
the
like it's been
tapes.
totally random.
Check
Who gets
the
it
tapes.
though?
Check the
Check the
tapes.
tapes. You've got evidence, right? I'm just making blind statements.
Hey, for our last ever Shadowverse Open broadcast for Season 1, as well as the last pre-show, we have a very special guest joining us yet again. A new face here. And will be somebody very important to the games happening today. The captain of the Mana Surge team. A competitor, a qualified player for EXG's championship tournament, as well as a commentator for community tournaments in the Shadowverse scene. Does a lot of EXG tournament commentating. I would like to welcome Mana Surge's Red. How are you doing today, Red?
Very good. How are you, man? Oh, it's been so long since I've talked to you. I missed you both so much.
It has been a long while. Red and I casted a community tournament, one of the EXGs a while back, and it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
And, it's always great amounts of fun to be hanging out with him and talking some Shadowverse. But today, we have him here talking about the NGE Shadowverse Open and what's going to happen in these final 8 players who will make it out on top and who will not. So, Red, I would just like to ask you, because Mana Surge is obviously a very big team in the North American Shadowverse community. You guys have a lot of players. I think you've got Jay-Z, you've got Noah, and Shugo all in the top 8. 3 of the 8 players are Mana Surge players. Tell us a little bit about your preparation, how you guys worked as a team to kind of design your decks and strategies, and how you plan to kind of take the tournament.
Yes. So Mana Surge, we like to really study our opponents, and that's one of the things I really love about working with all these team members. And sadly, we had to have a team kill on the first round today, which has made the team chat very quiet, with Shugo and Noah giving each other death stares for those $500 bonuses.
I can imagine.
But yeah, but Jay-Z, obviously, we worked a lot with him. He also worked with Potwasher, who was Unlucker's last opponent and now his opponent. And obviously, he worked inside of the team members and outside. He put in a lot of preparation, studying his opponent, understanding what the chances are of him bringing certain decks, and creating this lineup that he's made now, which I would say, from looking at the bracket myself, that he's done a good job, and he got the matchup that he wanted. So, yeah, we pretty much just like to study our opponents, understand what they're going to bring, and the likelihood of what lineup's going to give us the highest % chance of winning the entire tournament in the long run.
And that's certainly very interesting, right? Because Mana Surge, I feel like, as a team, has been very good at kind of exploring and kind of being, mostly kind of headed up by Noah, who is the second place pointer on the leaderboard, just barely overtaken by Les at the last moment. Was a big stalwart for Swordcraft in the competitive scenario, but this time around, he's not actually bringing a Swordcraft deck. Is that correct?
Yeah, he actually decided to go with more of the medical, but he was actually thinking about Sword at first. But what happened was, in the round of 8, because it was more face-to-face type of thing where you knew who you were fighting, he decided that bringing Sword was going to be a liability, because obviously everyone knows that he was like the pioneer of this mid-range Swordcraft deck that we've seen. That obviously other members of Mana Surge have also picked up, like Shugo and Jay-Z, both winning with it as well. That, obviously bringing it, probably easy to guess, so he avoided that, made it to top 16 because he brought a different lineup from normal, and now he just decided to go more meta calling, which I think not a lot of people are going to expect from him, because he doesn't really like Dragon or has played it very much. So, yeah.
And certainly, well, the other thing that's interesting is Shugo. Now, Shugo won, I believe, the second to last open entry tournament, and he did so with a Shadowcraft list that was running Tenacious Ghost. Was the big addition to his deck, and it was actually the winning cause of the finals game in that tournament that he took first place in. This time around, he's not doing that, but he is holding strong, playing Swordcraft, particularly against Noah. Do you think this will be effective? I mean, for the reasons that Noah was kind of pushing away from Swordcraft, do you think Shugo will suffer the fate that Noah has foreseen, or do you think it's going to work out for him?
I think it's going to be very interesting. Swordcraft has this double-ended sword, pun totally not intended. It was. But the entire idea behind it was that in a long tournament, like during the open brackets, it's very consistent at what it does. But it is somewhat of a liability even against the two meta decks, Dragon and Shadow. They can obviously both get snowballed down by Sword, but in a more smaller format that's more invitational type of based, you want to bring decks that have a higher ceiling of possibilities. They can go higher and higher, and not really just, you're not looking for consistency, you're looking for results in this type of format here in this smaller tournament. So with that, I feel maybe Shugo is going to find that Sword wasn't the best option because he's obviously going to have to face probably more or less that Shadow Dragon lineup this entire tournament because they are obviously the more consistent decks that have that high roof, that high ceiling of potential. So I feel like it can be both ways. It's either the Sword will snowball and win, or it's going to be a liability.
Well, I mean, the Mad Surge players seem to have many things figured out for themselves, but they're not the only competitors in the tournament. They're still a powerhouse that is less. The first place MVP of Season 1, the highest points earner, first seed in the tournament, really looking to make a push for taking the championship, as well as players like Limits and Omega, Unlucker, Exodium. All these guys from EXG, Shadow Nexus, all these other competitors here. I wanted to kind of take a look at some of the decks that these guys were going to bring in this matchup. And the first thing that caught my eye is the first matchup we're going to see today, Limits versus Exodium, or sorry, versus Omega, EXG Omega, Limits versus Omega. And one of the things that was particularly notable, and it's kind of been becoming more and more popular since the changes to things like Prince Catacomb and Lightning Blast and whatnot, but bringing Nephthys Shadow, and we can have that deck on screen in just a bit, Nephthys Shadow, that Omega is running. Talk to me a little bit about how you feel this deck will play out, kind of in the tournament, and based on the decks that he's going to be facing.
I feel like this deck is going to be a very interesting deck because it's not, when you look at this deck, it is a 3-4-7-8 kind of curve for Nephthys Shadow. So there's no 2-drops, which makes it normally weak to more aggressive mid-range decks like the mid-range Shadow. You don't want to really fight that, but it's very good against Dragon. And it's actually, and we've seen this list win. It's the exact same list from Dino T from the finals of the North American/EU EXG tournament. So this deck does have a win under its belt. So it is no low contender oddball deck in that sense. So I feel like bringing it to a tournament, it's going to be interesting to see because this is a 2-deck format, not a 3-deck 1-ban, which can make a huge load of a difference. But I feel with all the Dragon running around right now, it's definitely a good option. But also in Limits lineup, he does actually run some Banish in that target of the Dragon, which is going to maybe throw this game. I think that game's going to be one of the most entertaining to watch, to be completely honest with you, because you don't know what's going to happen. It's really going to come down to, does the Dragon have the Banish on time? And I feel like the Shadow will struggle against the Bloodcraft that Limits is bringing, but I think it's going to be a very, very interesting match against all the other dragons in the tournament. But Limits Dragon, we're just going to have to see how that happens, because I feel like that's very, very interesting. So,
yeah, certainly. Now, one of the other things that we want to mention, we talked about Dragon and Shadow a lot, and especially Dragoncraft, I feel like has evolved just a little bit, just in the sense that now Zell isn't nearly as strong. I mean, is almost unseen, if not entirely unseen now. There's kind of been a divide for Dragoncraft decks, right? There's a more storm-oriented as well as a more kind of Saha, Israfil, kind of more neutral ramp-oriented. And we should take a look. I think a perfect example of this, I believe, is Les versus Exodium. They're on the bottom of the bracket. Now, I believe Les is running the more storm-favored list, which we can see on screen, will be filled with cards like Erd as well as Forte. And obviously, we know that combo can be very strong, where you play the Forte and you swing, and then you play the Erd, resummon the Forte, and swing again for that huge amount of burst damage. Talk to me about the trade-offs here. Why would you play the storm-oriented version of Dragoncraft? Why would you play Sahakweal Israfil instead?
It's again knowing what your opponents are going to bring in this smaller tournament. It's much easier to bring these odd calls into a smaller tournament, at least player size, definitely not a small tournament, $4,000 online. But with knowing that most people will bring Dragon, as it is probably the most consistent deck in the format right now, you can definitely tech it towards being favorable in that list. And that's why we see the polyphonic roars all the time in Dragons. It's to win the mirror. But this list, with the extra Storm in it, it's definitely trying to just beat up your opponent before they even get to those later turns. And if they do, obviously with that Erd Forte combo being 10 to 12 damage, possibly if you have the Evo as well, that's a lot of burst that Dragon just does not like to deal with. That's why at the beginning of the meta, a lot of people were playing, like at the very start of Tempest of the Gods, Aggro Shadow was the main pick because it had that 11 damage burst combo with Cerberus and Phantom Owl. So now kind of bringing that to more of using what Dragon has to create those bursts. And that's probably the most likely reason Les decided to bring this, expecting a lot of people, if not all his opponents, to be running a Dragon of some sort.
You mentioned that Nephthys Shadow can be very strong against Dragon. How do you see this Storm deck stacking up against a Nephthys Shadow deck? Is it a similar story or maybe a little bit different?
Again, one of the things that has Dragon kind of in the loops right now is it's very weird. Like it either goes off really consistently, turn 7, you're on turn 10, just storming people out of the game, or you kind of have a slower start, and that's where Nephthys picks up. And if you just miss like one piece of ramp, that storm can easily get blocked by a Death's Breath, or all these liches start to make you have to answer and use Fortes defensively instead of offensively. So it comes down really to how the draws turn out. And that's kind of the bad part of, some tournaments is, obviously there's those draw aspects in the game. But Forte can be a really strong card, allowing you to end games before Nephthys comes down. But it can also be very weak, meaning that you have to waste 6 mana for like for a poor Dance of Death. So it really comes down to how fast the Dragon can ramp up, and if they can, then yes, those forward Erd combos will kill you before you even get to play Nephthys.
So, that being said, I mean, those were kind of the more interesting standout talking points of the decks of the tournament, and we'll see who kind of makes it onto the semifinals, and we can talk a little bit more about their particular decks and how they match up against their opponents. But I'd like to throw down this question. Very important day. You mentioned $4,000 for first place here, $2,000 for second place, and third, fourth get $1,000 apiece. So there's a lot of money on the line. Anybody who wins this round kind of ramps up, right? They kind of increase their prize pool by a pretty significant margin. Who do you think is well suited to kind of take the win here? You talked a little bit about your Mana Surge teammates here, and obviously kind of being part of the Mana Surge team and being the captain of the team, I would think you would want them to win. But what does your mind tell you? The heart might tell you Mana Surge, but what does the mind tell you, Red?
Well, I know it's totally not biased, but I do think Jay-Z is probably the most well prepared with his lineup being Shadowed Blood. It's very good against a lot of the other decks and lineups that I'm seeing. Probably the only bad matchup for him is if Shugo makes it to the finals, because Sword can be a huge wrench in that plan. But Shugo has a very nice bracket side. If he gets through on Lucker, and for example, if the Nephthys wins, then he gets to fight a Nephthys, which is going to struggle a lot against both those decks that Jay-Z has. But also, I feel like Lest is very good. Like I said, we talked about him, very consistent player, one of the best that came here, one of the most scariest faces to fight against. And his list, I feel like they can deal with pretty much anything. I really like these lists now that the more I look at them, I just feel like, yeah, actually, the more I look at it, the better and better. There's always another option that's just so good for this deck. So I really like this deck. And also his mid-range Shadow just being a very strong, consistent choice. Those are the two contenders I would say to take the crown. But it's anyone's game, really.
Absolutely. And we've seen that time and time again in the open entry tournaments where things go a little bit crazy. And despite the fact that Lest and Noah might be the most consistent players here, they're not guaranteed to be the winners. So we'll have to wait and see how the tournament pans out. For Red, he thinks Jay-Z and Lest in the finals, with Jay-Z perhaps coming out on top. And in classic fashion, Sterling and I are not going to give our predictions. Maybe we will. Maybe we will.
I am glad to hear Red talk about Jay-Z being favored, because I love the Bloodcraft deck that he's bringing. I think it's going to be very strong against Shadow and Dragon, and I really hope I love Blood, so I hope it goes far.
That actually brings up one final point that I want to say. The whole season, I mean, ever since the third week of the Shadowverse Open, we were had Aya Senpai on the desk and had the Havencraft curse. Now that we're on the final day and there are no Havencraft decks,
bummer.
The curse is here to stay. The curse is here to stay. Hey, you know, maybe in some future tournament, maybe something that might be titled Season 2 or something like that.
Maybe something that might be titled that.
Yeah, perhaps. But with that being said, thank you so much for your time, Red. We'll be able to hear more from him as we get to the semifinals and the finals of the tournament. But for now, we're going to go to a little bit of a break. And when we come back, the final day of the playoffs kicks off. We'll see you guys in a bit. welcome to the NGE Shadowverse Open. It's been a long 12 weeks, 12th week now.
12 whole weeks, man.
12th
Nice.
week now. We've had 10 weeks of open entry tournaments, 1 day of playoffs, and now this is the final day of the playoffs. And quite possibly, really quick, a lot of you should be familiar with this, but let's take a look at the big picture of how these 8 players made it to where they are. They started out, as I mentioned, in those open entry tournaments. All North American players they played. 10 grueling weeks of single elimination conquest format. Winners received direct invites, and the rest of the players were qualified by points on the leaderboard. Into playoffs phase 1, the 16 players fought out their matches, and now only 8 remain. That's where we're at right now, playoffs phase 2. This is where all the money is. Everybody here making at least $500. But
first place taking home that $4,000.
$4,000 for first place, and that is kind of the big thing that these players are shooting for. They've come so far already. Don't stop now. Try to grab that first place finish, and we have quite a number of players here. Let's take a look at the bracket to see who we are going to watch today and who are the contenders for that first place spot. We've got Limits versus Omega at first, and then Jay-Z versus Unlucker, and then Noah versus Shugo, Lest versus Exodium. Now, as we talked about kind of in the pre-show with the very, very special Mana Surge Red, the captain of the Mana Surge team, we got a feel for what he believes to be kind of the stronger players here. Lest and Jay-Z were his top picks, but of course, then we have Noah, right, who is this one super consistent player, but he's kind of diverting from his old strategies. He's kind of given up on Swordcraft and is attempting to play Dragon Shadow, play more safe, play meta, see if that'll give him some success here in this last bracket. And I think it'll be very interesting to see who can make it through to the finals.
Yeah, Noah has shown us that he's really great with Swordcraft, and suddenly abandoning his main class that he's really known for here in the finals, it could serve him well. Again, people were trying to guess and pick what decks their opponents were going to be playing and trying to build around that. And I mean, knowing that you're known for Swordcraft, it makes sense to kind of, okay, try to trick your opponents, try to give him a curveball. But now he's playing great meta decks for sure, but it's been Swordcraft that served him so well. We'll see if he's able to show up with decks that he hasn't played that much in big tournament settings.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be definitely a journey. We talked about a few of the deck matchups here and how these players are now, they're trying to play safe in the sense of playing closer to the meta. There's a lot more Dragon Shadow now. Sword is not really being experimented with. Runecraft, which is a thing we saw in the round of 16, is not a thing anymore. Havencraft is definitely gone.
But there's still some Bloodcraft.
Bloodcraft remains, and it's one of those decks. We had the very special Keita Mori from Side Games, kind of the head of the global esports endeavor there.
Yeah.
And he was relating some of his experiences in the Japanese region, and Bloodcraft was that next deck that everybody was running. If it wasn't Dragon, if it wasn't Shadow, it was Bloodcraft. So no surprise to see that somewhat being adopted here, and I think some of those Bloodcraft lists are exactly the Vengeance Craft lists that were being run in Japan. So will it take the tournament win here? I don't know, but maybe it will, and that'll make you pretty happy, I'm sure.
I'll be one happy camper if Blood could take a victory. I have a feeling like it's going to be some Dragon Shadow all the way. But I love seeing all the different kinds of Dragon decks that we're seeing specifically. Today we're going to be seeing some Erd Forte combinations that we haven't really seen that much. It's very strong, but in the NGE Shadowverse Open it hasn't shown up that much. Of course, mid-range Shadow is still high and mighty. I think it's definitely sitting on the top of the tier list today for sure.
Absolutely. So we know the name of the game. We know the story of the expansion. It's been true all expansion long, and there's definitely been a little bit of variation here and there, but definitely the Colossus of Tempest of the Gods has been kind of deep-rooted in Shadowcraft, and that shows in the playoffs today. So if you guys would like to talk about the expansion this season, if you're looking forward to the new expansion and kind of things to come, things that will change, you can tell us all about that at WatchNGE. Alternatively, you could just follow the Twitter channel, get updates about when the bracket goes live, when the tournaments go live rather, and any kind of other announcements that would be relevant, and things to come in the future. So definitely make sure to give that a follow. Also, it's the last week, my friends. It's the last week. It's your last chance.
You'll be saying
3,500 vials.
The giveaway, the last chance for the giveaway. That's where you were going with that. I was wondering.
Well,
It's not, oh, it's the last time you're going to see us. No, none of that. It's the giveaway.
Nobody
It's the giveaway.
cares about us. They don't want to see more of us. They just want the vial. They want to build their legendaries, or they want to save it. They want to hoard it. They want to save it for the expansion. When the expansion comes out, they're
It's a really good idea, actually. I've been saving my coins. I've already got like 2,000 coins, kind of like saved up from all the missions daily.
Rich guy
Oh,
here.
yeah.
2,000 coins?
I make bank, dude.
How many meals is that if you go to a fast food restaurant?
I don't know how coins convert to dollars. I don't think they do. Go pull up to the drive-thru. Yes, I've got 2,000 Shadowverse coins. Look at my screen. Oh, that's 500 Happy Meals right there. I love Happy Meals.
Well, we're about to jump into the first match and get underway to see who will make that $4,000 prize pool their own. That's definitely a lot of meals that you could get with $4,000. So, Limits versus Omega. The gates open and we're in. There it is. Shadowcraft versus Dragoncraft is going to kick it off now. Omega is running Nephthys Shadow.
That's right.
There we already see Kawi. He's got Mordecai in there.
And he already drew into the Death's Ledger. That's going to be huge. Sometimes, I mean, the Nephthys Shadow doesn't even draw into Death's Ledger until the later cards. It's still a formidable card later because it pulls cards based on the cost of your total mana points. So if you only have 4 mana points when you play it, it's only going to pull something like a Hell's Unleasher or an Attendant of Night.
Yes.
But if you have 8 total points, it could pull something like a Mordecai or a Kawi. That's huge. But when you get up to that range, it could pull a Nephthys and destroy the Nephthys, not really getting any effect there.
Yeah.
So it's when you get up to those higher play points, it's definitely a risk. And playing it early is huge, and coming in to draw it this early is big.
So the interesting thing is, Nephthys Shadow is so oriented around last word effects, everything from Lich to even the ultimate Carrot to Kawi, Mordecai, everything is about the last word effect. Limits typically would not have a particularly perfect matchup against this, but we already know that he has one in hand. He has 1 drop of Odin, 1 drop of Lightning Blast, which provides the banish effect. Special thing about that is it bypasses last word effects there. So if you banish a card, it won't get destroyed. It'll get banished instead, and that last word doesn't trigger. We'll see if he can use that to his advantage. But again, like you said, Omega looks to be having a very, very strong start.
So does Limits as well. He's going to be able to evolve the Aelia here, trade into the Lich, and get rid of the Kai'Sa as well. So ramping twice effectively and clearing the board, being able to completely mitigate the Lich there that the Death's Ledger pulled up.
Yep. And they passed quite a few of the early turns real quick. Limits is already going to be up to 8 play points on his next turn. Kawi in hand is going to be really big. Now, Kawi is one of those cards we never really got to see it crash into Dragoncraft, but its effect is basically huge removal for it takes the highest damage follower on your opponent's side and destroys it randomly amongst the highest damage followers, destroys it and heals you for that amount. So even if you have something as big as something like Bahamut or something like that, you can still kind of sidestep that.
Right. And I mean, look, you're right. Limits like just went off to, he got a running start in this game. He's already going to be on 10 play points next turn. That's huge. He still has 3 orbs left to play this turn, whether it's Breath of the Salamander. Maybe if you just want to get an extra draw, you could play Dragon Oracle. But I mean, I think Limits is really sitting pretty. And Omega's only going to be on turn 6 next turn. He's not going to be able to get the Kawi, which is a really stellar counter to Bahamut, for example. So he's gonna have to be waiting 2 turns until that. And he still hasn't drawn to the Nephthys either, or the Mordecai as well.
Oh, wow. He's just going to let damage on board sustain. And that might be a game-changing choice here. The fact that Limits decided not to use his Dragoon Scyther to mitigate the little bit of damage that he could change the entire thing. And I think he might be looking to drop a huge Bahamut here and just wipe the board, be rid of it, and then when Kawi is dropped in response, banish it with Odin. Which would definitely be the ideal way to play out this scenario, but that's a lot of health that Limits just lost there. We'll see if that matters.
Absolutely. It forces
a lot of options in
It
hand.
forces a lot out of the Shadow player. When you can clear the board like this, there's going to be a Lich left on the field, but you can evolve trade into that easy peasy. And then, like you said, you've got the Banish available for the Kawi coming out this turn probably. Unless Omega chooses to evolve the Kawi, trade into the Bahamut, and then it destroys the Bahamut, right? And then you can still go for face for 4 damage with the Lich as well. Hoping that you can stave off enough damage to go another turn and maybe play the Nephthys on the next turn as well, if he's able to draw into that.
Yep. Death's Breath in hand, so that's going to provide the triple ward that's going to allow Omega to kind of... Oh, does he know that there's Banish? Please don't pass.
He's got to evolve. That's going to be absolutely huge.
Please. Because it could be a huge loss of tempo and an immediate catch-up for Limits if he can just swing with his Bahamut once.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
and
Limits
in fact,
yeah, he's already down to 8 health.
I mean, there's lethal, right? Well, you need to remove the Kawi. Okay, so Odin's going to come down here.
Yeah, Odin, banish the Kawi, evolve, and trade into the Lich, get that out the field, and then you can go for face with Bahamut. Oh my gosh, that's huge!
Yeah. And he's still got Genesis Dragon, which the big thing about Bahamut Genesis Dragon is 13 and 7 is exactly the amount of damage you need to take somebody out. Now, he couldn't do that in one turn because of a ward for Kawi.
Right.
But this is a really bad spot. And this was the play that Limits was going for when he went for kind of the Dragon Oracle rather than the Scyther to clear.
And the thing about the hand for Omega right now, he's got Voices of Resentment. He drew into another copy. That's huge too. He can trade into the Bahamut if he wants to. Yep. But there's still, like you said, there's still the Genesis Dragon available for Limits.
Unfortunately, he can't swing at the Odin because it'll have one less damage than he needs to kill off the Kawi, which would have been actually the ideal situation to swing at Odin, kill the Odin, kill off the Kawi. The Kawi's effect kills off Bahamut. But alas, not able to be completed. And so now Omega, with that huge Kawi play, we talked about it, man.
13 points of healing, that's huge.
Kawi is really good.
Meanwhile, giving Limits a free hand here. He could play Forte, Zeus, Genesis Dragon if he wanted to.
Zeus
or
might be the play. It's safety as well as offense. There's no reason to go all out aggressive right now. I feel like that would be kind of the direction that you would lean. 16 or rather 11 damage is nothing to laugh at. If you evolve, you got 13 again.
Yeah, and that would put Omega right down into the dangerous range.
Yep.
Omega still has Voices of Resentment, so if he chooses to Forte, that's one card that can't be attacked by the ghosts with Bane if you use the enhanced Voices of Resentment. So that could be huge as well. But there's also the zombie party getting rid of at least one of those followers.
Interesting.
Oh, that's great, getting the Draconic Fervor. He's not even going to play it this turn, though. Interesting. He had 5 orbs remaining.
So he has enough damage on board, plus the Storm, to still close it out.
Right.
It might all be the same to him.
Yeah, we might... It's going to be the Death's Breath.
Warding up.
Yeah, warding up. At least being able to mitigate some of the damage. That Limits is going to be bringing out next turn.
And that 3 defense makes it so difficult for Salamander to push through. So Limits is going to need to really just kind of bunker down and actually trade through all these 3 ward cards. Really awkward situation, actually.
Yeah, it is. It is very awkward. Limits was able to get the 4-cost Draconic Fervor last turn. And he drew another Dragon Emissary, so he could get a draw for another strong card, maybe a Bahamut, being able to use that next turn. Which it's a shame that he used his Bahamut a few turns ago because he's not able to play it this turn to completely get rid of all of those zombies. But there's the Ouroboros.
Wow. They immediately drop the Ouroboros. And maybe even evolve it to take down another zombie there. Now, trading in your Isla is not... you don't...
You might as well just leave it up.
Yeah, because you don't get the ramp anymore.
Right.
It's still a valuable body. That 2 extra damage can make a big difference here. So last Evolve Orb gets spent by Limits onto the Ouroboros. Nephthys finally is drawn out here. And maybe he'll opt to even suicide the zombie before using Nephthys. There it is. Let's see. Will there be a Kawi? He's already played 2. I don't think he has 3, does he?
There's the Kawi and the Mordecai.
God.
Absolutely stellar. Being healed up to 20 health twice in this game. And he still has an Evolve Orb to use in the next turn. Or, I mean, he's probably not going to want to Evolve trade into Aelia this turn. But he still has that available to him. That's absolutely huge.
Oh, man. And that's a big swing in tempo. And I have to wonder if limits, I mean, he still would have gotten a card removed that Kawi would have continued healing. Kawi is so good in this scenario against Dragon because there's so much large damage on the table.
Yep.
You heal. I mean, the amount of healing Omega has done just in those 2 Kawi drops has been insane. What, 10 healing and 13 healing?
13 healing on the first one, yeah.
23 health in total. That's another player's worth.
There's a Forte down for 5 points of damage right there to face. There's a Mordecai and a, oh my gosh, and the Grimnir, yeah.
Man. And I think he'll be 1 point away. Nope, there it is, lethal. There it is, that Grimnir draw. I mean, he had it kind of on deck, ready to go.
Yeah.
And Nephthys is able to take a win. The big issue here is, okay, so Nephthys performed incredibly admirably, and Kawi's basically exactly when you needed it, but now that deck is kind of off the table.
Right.
Now you have to go up against that same Dragoncraft list, and possibly even Shadowcraft as the alternate, right? And you have to win with your alternate choice here, which might be a lot more difficult for Omega.
Right, so we'll see what Limits decides to do, whether he wants to stay on his Dragon deck or go over to his Shadow deck. I feel like mid-range Shadow could be a really strong choice, knowing that you've already played your Dragon deck, you've shown the cards that you have in that deck. You've seen what the Odin can do. So maybe switching over to mid-range Shadow could be a great choice.
Yeah, and certainly kind of the banish options, Lightning Blast and Odin, are much more suited to Dragoncraft mirrors and much more applicable to Nephthys than it is mid-range Shadow. Oftentimes in mid-range Shadow, by the time you're getting to that point in the game where you can play a Lightning Blast, where you can play an Odin, Lightning Blast a little less so, but it doesn't give you any board control. That's when mid-range Shadow is really coming in big and kind of blowing out its largest guns, right? So, by the time you get to Odin, it's like you're probably already losing or dead.
Right.
And when Lightning Blast comes around, okay, you banish one of its maybe 2/2 or 1/1 followers, and then Ector comes down and you still die, right?
Right, especially when you save those Evolve Orbs for Kawi instead of using them on turn 4 and turn 5. If you can use them with the Kawi, I mean, that's absolutely stellar. And it's going to be Omega's Blood deck that's coming out.
This one's for my family.
Blood against Dragon. We've seen this race time and time again. I think whoever's going first is really important right now. Bloodcraft really wants to play fast-paced and kind of get ahead of the ramp.
Dance of Death is going to be absolutely crucial in this Dragon matchup, but this early on, it's certainly not the card you want to see in your hand right away. You want to have the Blood Wolves, you want to have the Belphegors as well, if you can draw into that.
One more chance here for Omega to get something started. And it's going to be Razor Claw, which is decent, but it is a little more valuable than a follower just because it's that direct damage that you might have needed to close out the match. Draw 2 cards, so he's actually getting some options here. I believe he would have liked that Eurus to drop that in turn earlier. Dragon Emissary.
And Limits, seeing how Omega really hasn't played a follower this whole game. Devil of Vengeance coming out now. He doesn't have the Soul Dealer or the Belphegor, but he could be tempting Limits to evolve and trade into the Soul Dealer this turn. I think it's exactly what he has to do, knowing that there could be a Belphegor. He made the Blood Pact, he's had the card draw, so playing that card is a really great bait, almost.
Forward, we'll be able to do 3 and take it out. There's the amulet.
Blood-fed flower bed. Say that 3 times fast.
Blood-fed flower bed. Blood-fed flower bed.
Exactly.
Blood-fed flower bed.
It's such a great name for a card. I love it.
Blood-fed flower bed. Blood-fed flower. Oh my god. That's too difficult. 9 play points here. The double symbol ramp. And things are getting real out of hand. You really needed to go early and go fast.
Yeah, but he wasn't able to draw into the options that he needed. He does have the Urius and the Blood Wolf, so he's going to be able to get some damage on this turn, but it's not going to be much considering that we could see a Sahaquiel Israfil completely clear the board this coming turn.
Yep. Israfil only has to swing against the weakest follower on the board as well, so...
Yeah, he could just completely clear the board with the Israfil if he wanted to save the Evolve Orb, summon it this turn, but it's going to be the Grimnir.
There it is, the Grimnir, another staple of the expansion. Kind of almost a must-include in every single deck.
And it's going to be Omega bringing... that Grimnir brought him down to 10 health. He's on Vengeance right now. He's got double Dark General So for next turn, that's, I mean, at least 8 points of damage, plus an evolved 10 points of Storm. He's going to spend one of them this turn, knowing that you've got the Hungering Horde as well to get a little bit more of damage.
So even aggressive, and with every turn that passes, especially with the evolution orb, Limits has a lot of options to control the board. He just needs to make sure Ishafil's healing will kind of justify that.
And he's got the Genesis Dragon evolved right here.
Yep. Yep, and the evolve will bring him up to 9. And that's kind of the big issue with Vengeance Blood if you don't draw into your options early, right?
Right.
I mean, having the Dragoncraft player be up at 10 play points and still have that evolve orb left.
Right.
You just have so much strength behind all your 10 drops and 9 drops and whatever it was, right?
It's kind of the risk you play with that deck. It's incredibly strong, but it's reliant upon having that 4-drop. You need that one of those 3 cards, maybe one of those 6 cards if you have 3 Belphegors and 3 Soul Dealers. You need to have those cards in your hand by turn 4. And that's a risk. That's a big risk you take when you play that deck.
I think especially for Limits in that situation, going first and being able to ramp so far ahead of your opponent. He was at 10 real quick, and the instant he got to 10, he was just able to kind of Grimner and then Genesis Dragon, and that was enough, right? That was all you needed at that point. Double Sybil is huge. That ramp that you get and the healing that you get. And just the fact that Limits had to continue spending resources, not swinging face, but kind of clearing the board, that's a kind of tempo stop that will ruin your day.
Hey, Limits has a blood deck. I thought he had a shadow deck.
It's a pretty good early draw.
Yeah, not bad.
Wow. Okay.
And we talked about how fast some games can be, sword on sword, shadow on shadow. This could possibly be one of the fastest games that we've ever seen, when both a blood on blood matchup is so quick. Omega was able to get. He's going to have the blood-fed flower bed right on turn 1.
Nice.
He wants to play that, but he doesn't play it. But it's going to be a lot of damage that both players are doing to themselves and doing to their opponent as well.
Yeah, and no matter which way you look at it, right, up until turn 4, getting them to 10 health is also kind of a moot point. You know what I mean? Because kind of you're doing damage to them, but maybe that's doing them a favor.
Right. It's a massive bluffing game is what it is, because both players are going to want to show that they've got the perfect hand and scare their opponent into possibly making a misplay. There's the Belphegor for Limits. That's absolutely huge.
I wonder if he's going to do anything about the Eurus. Not really a good option to go against it. Wow. Didn't even choose to swing. That,
Let's have some fun.
Choosing, I mean, and maybe anticipating the Succubus coming out next turn. If he had attacked, he would have been, the Succubus would have done 2 damage to him. I mean, but then again, you've already got the Belphegor. And you've got turn 4 first, so you don't have an Evolve Orb this turn. So playing Belphegor, you get the 2 draw, but you don't have really any other massive effects this turn. But again, Omega doesn't have the 4-drop. That's going to be huge. It's going to be massively telling for Limits when Omega doesn't drop the Belphegor on turn 4, knowing that, okay, none of his cards are the Belphegor.
Blood Pack. Now, Limits opted not to play the Belphegor quite yet. That might be entirely attributed to the fact that he just doesn't quite feel the need to right now. Doesn't have the Evolve Orb. He's not in danger of being swinged at.
Right, doing damage to your face as much as you can until you get to 11 health right here. And he's got 7 health of Ward on the field. And next turn, Belphegor possibly coming out is going to be doing just 1 damage as opposed to 8 or 7 damage.
Yeah. Double Ward on the board is actually really hard to push past.
Yeah, especially even with an Evolved Grimnir taking out one of the wards, and the Succubus still only has 2 damage. I mean, you're not really going to be able to clear off all the wards this turn. Yeah, and we're still only at 4 play points, so Dance of Death, I mean, not even going to be playable until next turn.
And I think Omega is kind of looking over his options and figuring that they're actually not that great.
Yeah, the choice that Limits has made in the past few turns to not attack, I mean, it's kept Omega at 18 health.
He's got to use
So he's not anywhere close to being in Vengeance.
think that's so interesting. He spent the evolve point. I think he's just trying to make it so it's as difficult as possible for limits to remove from the board, but Dancing Death will be an easy answer there.
Right.
And the Spider Web Imp lives on. Evolve will give it even more health. Be able to trade. And again, it's just so like you're just barely missing. What is it going to be? A Grimner Evolve?
Mm-hmm. He's got the Blood Pack to do damage to himself, getting closer to Vengeance, and also the draw as well. I mean, that's going to be huge, just trying to get more and more options. There's the Devil of Vengeance. Not going to be able to attack for possibly a few more turns. But he was able to draw a Spider Web Imp of his own as well.
There's Grimner. He's just going to let it sit.
Hey, check this
No,
out.
he chooses to evolve it, so it's going to be left with 2 health. And that's going to necessitate some kind of a response here from Limits. He's got a second Belphegor. Might be time to start playing him.
Yep, he's only going to take 1 bit of damage and getting a 4/4 drop. 2 draw as well. That's absolutely huge.
That's kind of a big card to have in hand, especially when you're kind of in a position now where you're in Vengeance and you really want to be swinging towards the face of your opponent.
Right.
Having that Hungering Horde remove any kind of card like a ward or anything like that is going to be key.
Omega does have he still has the Devil of Vengeance, but he's not even in Vengeance to play the card to evolve and trade into the Belphegor. It's going to have to be the Razor Claw to get rid of the Belphegor on the side of Limits.
Double Spiderweb Ape here, and now in Vengeance and very well protected.
Both players right at 10 health. This is where the game gets interesting. This is where Bloodcraft shines.
Vengeance is active.
But Limits doesn't even have any Vengeance cards. He doesn't have the Dark General. He doesn't have the Dark Air Jammer or anything to take advantage of the fact that this is the second turn that he's been in Vengeance. And the first turn for Omega, and Omega's got the Devil of Vengeance. He's got the card that can take advantage of that. Evolve for 6 attack and 6 defense for only a 3 cost. But, I mean, with the way that his curve is working out in his hand, it's either going to have to be just the Devil or the Dance of Death next turn as well, because he's only going to be on 7 play orbs. And he's got 2 blood-fed flower beds in his hand. You know, real difficult. I mean, if you're able to get into the position where you have a little bit more health than your opponent, the flower bed can close out the game. It could be absolutely huge.
Grimmer's going to be played, and that's going to stop both the Spiderweb Imps for now, even though Omega is sitting on a Dance of Death. So we'll see. I think that... Oh, and another Succubus. It'll be interesting because the health points matter so little, and it's all about kind of who gets to swing first, really, right? We're kind of in a lockdown where there's wards on both sides, and there's a removal option here for Omega, but if he chooses to spend that now, he doesn't actually have good units to kind of swing past. He might want to wait just a bit.
The world earned my wrath. Let's have some fun.
And that's 2 cards out of the hand of Omega with only 3 cards remaining. 2 of them amulets, 1 of them a spell. Omega is almost entirely reliant upon his next draw next turn. He does have the Dance of Death. That's some pretty solid removal, but I mean, the Flower Bed is kind of a dead card right now unless you're able to have the cards that make it useful, that can bring your opponent down to that critical moment where the Flower Bed might be useful. He does have a sizable board.
There it is. The amulet comes down.
Ticking away at that damage over the next 4 turns. There's another Imp, so he's got the ward. Mitigating an attack from at least either the Succubus or the Devil of Vengeance, and Limits doesn't even have an Evolve Orb this turn to use. He's already on turn 8. He might want to just save the Grimnir for turn 10 in 2 turns, but I feel like maybe that would be too late. You might need the ward this turn.
Now the combination of... Yeah, removal is actually not super comfortable as well for Limits, and he doesn't have Evolve Orbs.
Right, he's got the Hungering Horde, but against a Spiderweb Imp, it's going to be leaving them both alive with 1 defense. Or you could use it on the Evolved Succubus there. It's got 3 defense right away.
Being able to Hungering Horde and then use Angel of Word will be able to get rid of 1 of the wards, but then that's 2 cards to mitigate 1 damage here.
Right, and then you still leave the 8 attack left on your opponent's side of the field.
fact that the Succubus is there as well makes it so that if you heal up beyond a certain point, Omega can still bring it back with the Succubus's ability.
Right, and he was able to draw into Diabolic Drain. That's huge. That could get rid of the Devil of Vengeance, heal for 2. That's big, and you can still Hungering Horde, get rid of the heavy hitters on the side of Omega. Just leaving those 1 attack
And I think that's a play.
This is my home. You are my food.
He's going to opt for the instead.
So now both players are at 7 defense. There's the Dance of Death, bringing Omega right into lethal range.
There it is. Omega's able to do it, and I feel like that's such a weird matchup.
Yeah.
That's so weird because you're both racing to not put your opponent into vengeance.
But you also want to win the game, so do you not do damage? Do you do damage? I mean, real difficult decision making there.
I really think it was a mistake not to use Diabolic Drain. You know, just spend it.
Yeah,
you know,
I think so.
Make sure you get yourself to a point where you're safe. And it's hard to respect something like Dance of Death because it's just so hard to see it coming. That extra 2 damage makes a lot of a difference, and the fact that Devil of Vengeance could swing, that was really the big difference maker.
Right,
if
that was
huge.
If
able to remove that, then that situation would have been.
Yeah, the Dance of Death was crucial, doing that extra 2 points of damage, and then you're right, the Diabolic Drain I think would have been the play there. But I mean, it was a choice. Do you want to get the ward? Do you want to clear off the board? Because there could have been something like a Soul Dominator or an Alucard, another like massive Storm Follower in your hand as well.
Yeah. Definitely a tough choice. Bloodcraft Mirrors, a little bit janky. Let's take a look at the bracket and see how we stand here. And I think that was an interesting match in the sense that Limit 787 from Shadow Nexus had been performing so well all throughout the tournament. Then EXG Omega, and remember, EXG Omega and the 7th were neck and neck all the time in the final moments of the tournament. And Omega, I think, is kind of this new, rising, very recent kind of big player in kind of the competitive Shadowverse.
Yeah, week 7,
now.
week 8, Omega took 2nd place against the 7th both times.
And he's going to be moving on to the semis. So he just knocked out Limits. Limits going to be 5th through 8th place, earning $500. And Omega has pushed himself up to the 3rd, 4th place. $1,000? Maybe more. Maybe more. We'll see.
We'll see how it is.
We'll see. But the next match coming up real soon.
Jay-Z versus Unlucker.
And this is one of the big matches that we talked about because Jay-Z, respected by Red as possibly the player to win the tournament. Possibly.
That's right. So
I think it's interesting because most of the times you make teams and you practice with the constraints of those teams and you practice against each other and you think about decks and matchups and what you want to bring to the tournament. In Jay-Z's case, he practiced against a lot of people from other teams as well. And so I think one of the things that gives Red that confidence to say that is just the amount of practice Jay-Z has had against a variety of different situations, a variety of different matchups. And I think that balance and that exposure to so many different decks may better prepare him for any kind of tricky things that may happen in this tournament that might catch him off guard.
And we haven't even seen mid-range Shadow yet played. We've seen Nephthys, but I mean, coming up in this next match is going to be the first time we've seen mid-range Shadow all day coming into the second game. So we'll see how Jay-Z and Unlucker are able to really weave around those matchups, considering their secondary decks.
Yeah. So I think apparently while we were still caught up in the Bloodcraft Mirror matchup, Jay-Z and they've already played their first match here.
Oh,
Jay-Z
okay.
is up 1-0. So we're going to be jumping in kind of in the middle of the thing. And we'll see if Jay-Z can make it through and continue his
reign of terror,
his prophecy, I would say.
If he's going to fulfill Red's prophecy.
Yeah. 1-0.
Interesting. I'd love to see Bloodcraft show up this game.
There it is. Ooh, Unlucker. And Unlucker is kind of a big name as well. From the Shadow Nexus, kind of his teammate has fallen already, right?
Right.
Limits has just recently been slain by Omega. Now Unlucker is representing Shadow Nexus here, and we'll see if he can make a run for the semifinals placement. But he's a game down. Starting a little bit on the back foot.
We'll see how Unlucker can come back from this. It's gonna be the Shadow Reaper in the opening hand for Unlucker. A card that, I mean, I love seeing double Shadow Reapers. It's It's just absolutely killer combo. If you can already get like the 1-drop and then the 2-drop, and then on turn 4 you're able to get both of them on the field at the same time, evolve, I mean, that's absolutely crucial.
Yeah, there it is. After a lot of deliberation, 1 card to mulligan and gets a Cerberus for it, which is actually a really strong card. One of the big things about mid-range Shadow is you definitely need to draw into your heavy hitters. You can have a really, really good late game, but you can actually find an awkward spot where you just have a ton of 1-1s, 2-2s, but not the damage output to actually close out the game because you're not drawing into things like Ector or Cerberus or anything like that.
Of course, what's important to keep in mind in the Shadow and Shadow matchup is the fact that Unlucker is able to go first. That's huge. And I think he's got the curve in his hand available to really take advantage of that. He's going to have possibly a Soul Squasher and a Shadow Reaper next turn if he wants to play perfectly on curve with 2/2 drops. Of course, that's half your hand, a little less than half your hand. It could possibly be just that.
Shadow Reaper comes down.
And if you're able to trade your own Chimera into another Chimera, I mean, you get the 2 skeletons, but your opponent gets them as well. And you could buff up the Shadow Reaper as well, but he's just going to go for that 1 point of face damage, getting the bleed, starting the bleed out, and forcing Jay-Z to kind of make the decision if he wants to be the one to get rid of those cards as well.
Early turn, plus the Shadow Reaper, and none in sight for Jay-Z, puts Unlucker in a fairly good early game spot.
Jay-Z has the Catacomb right here on turn 4. He could be getting 3 skeletons out of that Chimera. That could be big. Evolving and trading into the Soul Squasher. Don't really like that play, but that might be all he's got unless he just wants to play the Intendant of Night, evolve, and call it a day.
We'll see. Lots of deliberation here, and these players are playing very carefully, of course, in the last day of the playoffs where lots of money is on the line. They really want to make sure they're thinking through all their decisions and kind of getting any kind of little hints as to what is in hand for their opponents.
Yep, and knowing that Jay-Z, he's got the Cerberus in his hand for next turn, so he's got the aggressive options to really push forward if he wants to just go for as much damage as he can. And I think he might be doing that, ensuring that he's going to have a lot of skeletons on the board next turn no matter what. Either if Unlucker decides to ignore the Chimeras and go for face, which he might, considering he just drew into a Phantom Howl himself, or he could want to maybe build up the shadows himself. He's got the Grimnir, so that's a bit of war to kind of stem some damage that Jay-Z is going to be pulling out.
Yeah. I would say that would be a wise choice. Just in the sense that the ward will help make it that much harder to remove the Shadow Reaper.
Right.
Because it necessitates you killing the ward.
Right.
If you kill a ward, then Shadow Reaper buffs up 1.
It's going to be the Chimera. So now next turn, I mean, no matter what, Jay-Z is going to be able to play the Cerberus, evolve, and trade into the Shadow Reaper, just getting that off the field immediately. But that is a good bit of damage that Unlucker was already able to pull off.
16th health. Ooh, Ector is in hand. Cerberus and Ector and a Phantom Howl. There's definitely options available for Jay-Z. The only thing remaining is Shadows.
Right. He's got the Bone Chimera and Catacombs as well, so he's hopefully, I mean, he doesn't have a Death's Breath or anything, so, I mean, that's one option that you're not going to have to build up those shadows. But I mean, the Catacomb could be huge next turn, along with maybe a Coco or maybe to try to, like, get some tempo, trade off some followers, ensuring that you have enough shadows to really make an effective Ector play on turn 7.
Bone Chimera gets dropped, and that's been the name of the game so far, just Bone Chimeras everywhere. Now finally commits a Grimnir.
No matter what he decides to do, if he evolves the Chimera, trades in, it's going to get rid of his own Chimera, but he'll have some skeletons as well. Building up more and more shadows, saving onto that Phantom Howl. Unlucker has the Zombie Party next turn.
There it is. Cerberus gets taken down, but Coco and Mimi are still in hand.
Yep, and there's the Shadow Reaper. So he could possibly get a massive play this turn. Depending on how he wants to play it, he could Shadow Reaper Catacomb.
The thing about using Shadow Reaper right now is it can be nice just in the sense that the Shadow Reaper is guaranteed to be around by the time Ector rolls around, right?
Right.
Just because of its ambush. But if he doesn't put up a good front of defense, he's just going to be taking down a lot of damage right here.
Right. He's opening up the board, so Unlucker's going to have a chance to Phantom Howl this turn, but Jay-Z's sitting at 13 health. It's not going to be enough damage. Unlucker wasn't able to save an Evolve Orb. He wasn't able to play Cerberus last turn. So it's not going to be enough damage to close out the game, and that's the gauntlet thrown down. So he could use the Phantom Howl to clear off a lot of this board.
Probably needs to. Probably wants to respect it. Turn 7, you got to play around because Ector will just sweep you up, right?
Right, absolutely.
So I believe with Ector, he's going to be doing 16 damage. 4 of 2, 8, 6, 8. Yep, 16 damage.
Jeez.
And unfortunately, he can't use Coco and Mimi alongside that because Ector will take every single ounce of resource spent on that.
Right.
But that's still an insane amount.
He does have Catacomb and a Phantom Howl of his own. He could elect to use the next turn to get just a little bit more damage, ensuring that he'll be able to burst down Unlucker in just one turn. As opposed to doing 16 damage in one turn, bringing him down to 3 health. Do 3 health one turn, and then maybe Unlucker's feeling he's safe, and then next turn you bring down the pain, bring down the hammer. But, I mean, with that zombie party, that's a lot of followers that you really don't want to leave up in case your opponent has an Ector of their own.
Let me do some math here. You got 8 damage plus 3, 11 plus 4 is 15. So that's if you use Phantom Howl and Coco and Mimi. But that's not going to do it for you. I think perhaps Ector is still the turn here. Summon a bunch of zombies. That's how you get board control. Get the increased damage. Allows you to swing with Catacomb and Reaper to face for a significant amount.
You trade your zombies into the other zombies, getting the Reaper even stronger. And you won't have an Evolve Orb to use to trade into the other side of the field, but yeah, and then Unlucker's still got the Chimera as well, so it's gonna be. I don't think he's gonna be able to completely clear up the whole side of the field unless he commits all his resources to all of those followers. Even if he does play the Ector.
This is an important turn for Jay-Z. He decides to take action.
This head can't be taken.
I think that's such an important turn to take. The order of operations there.
Right.
Throwing away his Catacomb first to get the extra rush. He's trying to draw into options.
Yep. There's the Cerberus, but there's not an Evolve Orb. I mean, if he plays that, he's not going to be able to gain any tempo.
He has to.
Yep.
He has to. And I think that's it.
Yeah, it's going to be Jay-Z taking this 2-0 against Unlucker.
Jay-Z with the clutch draw into the Shadow Reaper and then the Ector to follow up. And we were talking about that setup, right? If you play the Shadow Reaper on turn 6, you're basically guaranteed to have that Shadow Reaper benefit from the Ector. And we saw that. He traded Catacomb in, got that +1. Had the Skeleton, traded that in. Put down the Ector, had the Zombie, traded that in.
Yeah, Shadow Reaper on turn 6 is so formidable, even in a Dragon matchup. If you can evolve it that turn, leaving it with 3 defense, it's not going to be destroyed by Breath of the Salamander. And in the Shadow on Shadow matchup, it's even more crucial because there's no way that the Shadow deck has to deal with that. They don't have the tools to destroy an untargetable follower.
And I think that's very rare in the game just in general, right? Being able to destroy or banish an untargeted follower is definitely far and few in between. But Jay-Z made it happen, and Unlucker gets knocked out of the tournament. 1 point up when we joined the set, and Jay-Z was able to take it 2-0. Let's take a look at the bracket and see in the semis, Mana Surge's Jay-Z has moved forward, so it's Omega versus Jay-Z, 0-0. Then Noah, Shugo, less than Exodia remain. So Unlucker from Shadow Nexus out very early on, joining his teammate Limits. And I believe it's all up to Exodium now.
For Shadow Nexus' last hope. Of course, we're going to have 2 Mana Surge players in the finals, and EXG still has a chance as well. I like the way that the bracket has turned out as far as teams are concerned.
Shadow Nexus definitely needs to kind of keep their name in the game here. Right. That's going to be super important, but how are you going to knock out less? That's a big question.
Yeah.
We've got the team kill coming up right now. Noah versus Hugo. These 2 teammates, we talked about the matchup a little bit with Red, where Noah, typically running Swordcraft, has identified that he wants to run meta. Hugo, who normally runs a Tenacious Ghost on his Shadowcraft deck and then runs a Swordcraft deck as well, has stuck to his guns. So my heart is a little bit telling me that Hugo should move on just because he's running the tried and true Swordcraft as a North American pride.
Right.
But
we'll see how the Mentor's teaching is going to help him out, because he elects to run that card as opposed to just having more Fangblade Slayers.
But the thing is, for Noah, he's been so consistent all season. One of those players that we see time and time again. And he's definitely had difficulties in the top 8, right? But this time he's geared his deck list specifically for the top 8 and forward, and not for the entire tournament coming from the first rounds, which I think is a big difference. So we'll see. We'll see if that changes Noah's performance today.
It's Mana Surge against Mana Surge. Noah starting off with Dragon, Hugo in Shadowcraft. We're still in the round of 8, so not yet in the semifinals, but we'll see how this game rounds out to ensure that Mana Surge makes it to the semifinals. And there's Noah already coming into a pretty solid hand, starting with Dragon Oracle. He's got the Grimnir to follow up, and Sybil as well for even more ramp and healing. But there's a great 1 and a 2 drop for Hugo as well, so a lot of early pressure that he's going to be putting out.
All right. The opening hands have been set. Ramping into Sybil is not the worst.
No, not the worst at all, especially considering Noah was able to come into a Blazing Breath that turn, so he's going to be able to get rid of at least one of the followers that Hugo throws down. Hopefully the 2 drop. He could. He went first, so he's going to have Dragon Oracle next turn, right on turn 2.
Skull Beast. Solid for that early game board state.
Oh man, next turn Noah's going to be able to play Aelia and the Blazing Breath. That's going to be huge. He's going to be ramping so much. He already went first. He already has the play point advantage.
And this is difficult, right? If you can't punish the Dragoncraft player for ramping up, and you're basically assuming a situation, well, now Dragoncraft is just going to be on 10. He could have indefinite amounts of healing. He could have so many options. He could just swing face and destroy you.
He could play the Ouroboros when I'm still on 4 orbs. I mean, oh my gosh, that could be huge. And there's another Aelia. Oh my gosh.
That's a big setup here. There's the Blazing Breath you were talking about.
Right, and there's no draw. I mean, he could completely run out of options next turn. On turn 5, he's going to want to play Sybil, not able to evolve it. And he won't be an overflow, so he won't get any healing next turn. So it's a big bomb from Sybil next turn. Big follower, but we'll see what Hugo has to answer it in his hand. He's got another Aelia and a Shadow Reaper as well. He wants to play that this turn. But again, I mean, when you get rid of that Aelia, I mean, just signing your own death ward, essentially.
Yeah. This is a tough spot for Hugo. This is real rough.
He's still got the Cerberus and the Death's Breath. He's got, you know, the mid-game options he has to try to like put on the pressure and deal the damage. He hasn't been able to draw into an Ector yet. He's just thinking about his option, really, this turn. But what is the most effective play here?
Skull Beast just hanging out. Still 2 turns until you can access Cerberus even.
Yeah, do you play the Lyrial or the Shadow Reaper this turn? He's going to play the Shadow Reaper. If you play the Lyrial, then I guess Aelia just had a target to trade into next turn, right? And so now Aelia is not going to be able to kill herself off. But, I mean, that's one of your mid-game win conditions, is the Shadow Reaper right there.
Opting not to play the Sybil, wants to make sure to save the Sybil for a situation where he can heal off of it.
Evolve and trade as well. Yep, drawing into that second Aelia. You might as well have played it that turn considering the board state of your opponent. You didn't have anything like a Rabbit Necromancer or any other like massive followers. You just had the Shadow Reaper, camouflaged at 1/1, and the Skull Beast. Yeah,
All
and
right.
so there's the Lyriel coming out this turn. He could, I mean, ping for 1 damage. It's tricky, though, because, again, you don't want to get rid of those alias. It's going to be absolutely crucial. Getting rid of those alias could come and bite Shugo in the butt massively in the next few turns, considering that's 2 opportunities to ramp next turn for Shugo. So we'll see what he decides to do.
Really, really long turns being taken here by the players. They're kind of considering many steps in advance here.
Mm-hmm.
Evolve onto the Shadow Reaper, and definitely seems like he wants to go phase. Zombie party, so he's gonna ramp 1 for his opponent.
Going face like that, Shugo really playing the odds, hoping Noah doesn't have Breath of the Salamander. Of course he doesn't, but he does have Sybil. He's going to be able to heal for that amount of damage, essentially. Shadow Reaper's able to trade for 4, and Sybil heals him right back up past 3. And of course the Aelia could possibly trade into the Lyriel as well, clearing the board, ramping even more. He's going to be on turn 10 next turn if he trades into the Aelia, which he does.
Turn 10 when your opponent just took his turn 5. That's pretty good.
That's really, really strong. Yeah, but even the Cerberus, I mean, it can evolve and trade in. You get Coco and Mimi, but that just empties the board, and then your opponent can Grimnir. I mean, but, you know, Noah doesn't really have a lot. He doesn't have a Genesis Dragon, for example, or a Zeus. He's got Bahamut, but, I mean, would you want to play Bahamut on an empty board? I mean, you get that massive follow where it doesn't destroy anything. But against a Shadow matchup, I mean, that could be nice if there's a full Catacombed board on your opponent's side of the field. Definitely does not feel good to play Bahamut into that. So having the opportunity to play it on an empty board could be really nice.
So Soul Squasher is an easy solution to the Sybil here, but if you play the Soul Squasher, you basically don't have another play, right? Ideally, you want to do something like set up the Cerberus, but being that Noah is going into the 10 play point turn, leaving the Sybil out that can do 6 damage to face from board.
Right.
And if there's any kind of Storm Follower on the side of Noah, that could end up being really troublesome. So
yeah,
Soul Squasher is mitigating a lot of damage here, possibly.
He had Death's Breath, but, I mean, the Soul Squasher consuming those shadows, he didn't have really... He's not going to be able to get the ward next turn. So if Noah's able to draw into the Storm options, like you said, it's going to be able to really save him there.
And I just feel like Shugo is a step behind.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you even have enough damage to clear this guy out?
You know, he's not even going to have...
Evolve 7, zombie. 1 zombie is, what, 4?
Mm-hmm. Doesn't even have the damage to clear it out. You could just Death's Breath, prevent Bahamut from going face next turn, right? Giving those 3 followers. But even then, I mean, Noah still has an Evolve Orb. He's going to be able to he's going to be able to completely trade off all of those zombies with Grimnir next turn, which is going to be huge. I mean, Noah can win the game this turn.
There it is. Evolve for 15, left with 1 health now.
No, he's not going to win the game. He'll be left with 1 health.
Oh my god. This is such a dominating game here from Noah. It just seems like going first and having those ramp options largely put this game in favor of the Dragoncraft player.
Right, and Noah, he's got the Evolved Dragoon Scyther, so even if Bahamut is not able to trade for face, with the Ector play coming out this turn, possibly, I think that's what we're going to see. I mean, you can still evolve the Scyther and just go for that 4 damage right there.
The Evolved Dragoon Scyther kill. Could you have imagined that?
No, I never would have decided that. Shugo could play the ward from the Grimnir. And, you know, that's 1 attack that's at least going to be mitigated. But if you do that, then you're not able to...
Well, if you play the ward, you have Scyther that drops, takes down the ward.
And then Bahamut, yeah.
Yep.
So either way, I think Noah's really going to be taking this game away.
There it is. He's going to try to befuddle Bahamut here. Trying to evolve to give it as much health as possible, but... Oh boy, an Israfil swing will definitely clear everything. There it is. Noah will be able to take the first game here against Shugo. He's even going to use the Israfil to call it.
Nice.
Or rather, the Sahak wheel to call it the Israfil. There it is, the big AoE. Last zombie falls, and now Bahamut for the killing blow. Ooh,
Nice.
you are too strong. Noah continuing to demonstrate why he is a strong player. Now, obviously, he has to go to his alternate deck. And Shugo still has Swordcraft in his pocket. Will he want to bring that out against
The Shadow deck.
Against, I believe that the alternate deck being run by Noah is Bloodcraft.
It's Bloodcraft again?
Yes,
Nice.
I believe so.
Nice, nice,
I think
nice.
he had a tough time playing Bloodcraft against his training partners. So, or sorry, playing Shadowcraft against his training partners. I believe that was the story. I can't remember, or maybe that would have been for Jay-Z.
Right.
I'm not exactly sure how that played out, but I
interesting.
think Noah's alternate deck is Bloodcraft.
Either way, we'll see. We'll see coming in a second. But I think you're right. He ran it yesterday. It makes sense that he would stick with the deck that got him to the finals.
Absolutely. So, Noah coming out with the early lead, and he's on the verge of making it towards the semis. And these are big matches here. These players are taking a lot of time making their decisions. And that's because there's at least $500 on the line for winning this round, and then $1,000 on the line for winning the next round, and then $2,000 for winning that last round.
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and these are the juggernauts that are playing for the money. The players, the best players in North America.
Yeah.
Quite simply.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of decks that are being brought today are kind of the most consistent, safest decks I feel like we can see from the current meta.
Right.
And I almost wonder if a player would have benefited from taking something a little more wacky. Who would you want to be that risk taker though? That is the question.
Yeah, in a game like this, I mean, giving yourself the highest % chance of succeeding, I think is absolutely crucial.
Okay, so Noah is going to be using Shadow.
That is Shadowcraft, yeah.
Yep.
Let's play together.
But playing the more consistent decks, the decks that have proven time and time again that they can win. Bloodcraft, Shadow, and Dragon. And for Shugo, it was Sword, but he's going to be staying with the Shadow deck in this mirror matchup.
Right.
Noah with the 1-drop. Shugo with the 2-drop. We'll see if Noah's able to really get a good draw here with his next turn. It's so interesting to see these mirror matchups where players are essentially running the same decks with a few cards interchanged here and there because it comes down to the decision making, essentially.
Yeah. The most interesting thing that I've noticed so far is that I don't feel like we've seen a single Orthrus yet.
Yeah, we haven't.
That card seems to, I don't know if they're not running it, or it just seems to have fallen off in popularity. It feels like almost every single game we saw of Shadowcraft always had an Orthrus involved in it at some point in time.
Right.
And I just haven't seen a single one today. We've seen a lot of Shadowcraft today already.
Yeah, we have. We've seen Catacomb, which is interesting. I mean, I expected to see much more Orthrus than we have of Catacomb, and we haven't even seen Orthrus.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting.
So Noah's spending his zombie party on the Orthrus, giving Shugo the great opportunity to play his Grimnir this turn. Grimnir's a great target for zombie party, but he doesn't have that anymore. Skullbeast is going to have a very difficult time dealing with that Grimnir not being able to trade into it at all.
Yeah. The fact that Grimnir does 2 damage, just enough to get rid of the Skullbeast, makes that trade very, very not interesting. The counter Grimnir, funny part is Grimnir is awkward against himself.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they're not able to. He's not able to kill himself off like that.
Whenever he looks in the mirror, he kind of shudders a little bit. He shudders in Grimnir.
Noah could play Grimnir, trade in with the Skullbeast, and then Shugo's Grimnir is on 2/2, and then it kind of prevents Shugo from being able to trade into. Okay, he's not going to do that. He's going to leave his Skullbeast and Shugo's Grimnir up. But Shugo really drawing into his zombie party there, being able to... that's a really great play right there. And he can still play the Lyrial Archer this turn if he wanted to as well, get another follower, as well as taking off the Grimnir.
I think that would be a good play. And going first allows you to get quicker to the Cerberus, get quicker to the Ector.
Yep, Shugo's going to have Cerberus next turn, being able to evolve, trade into anything with that. Noah's got Cerberus as well and a Shadow Reaper. Shugo does not have a Shadow Reaper. That's going to be... could be big, but or it's very possible that the Ector is the only card that matters right in this matchup. possibly saving the Lyrial until you can use the Evolve effect on it.
Yeah,
I like
the
that
Evolve
play,
effect
yeah.
is definitely useful. It can't snipe out something like a Shadow Reaper anyways,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Evolve Cerberus might give you just a little more value.
Right.
But you're not... I mean, your opponent is just going to get the 4 play points here, right? So...
Mm-hmm. So he's going to throw the Lyrial down. Just as a solid 2/2 drop for some more tempo. We'll see what Noah does this turn. He's got the Reaper, Lyrial of his own, and a Skull Beast as well. Could be that he throws down the Reaper and the Lyrial Archer evolves just for 1 ping damage and then is able to trade into the Grim to get that off the field. But then that still leaves the Lyrial Archer up for Shugo.
And Lyrial Archers do great damage to face on a turn where you can evolve them, right? Just because of the ping and then the swing for 4. 5 damage from that card is nothing to laugh at.
No, it's very formidable. It's going to be the Skull Beast saving the Shadow Reaper for the next turn as well. This is the first Evolve Orb. It's... Alright, he's going to ping the Lyrial, just get that down to 1 defense. Interesting choice.
Very, yes.
I guess it allows for the Skull Beast to be able to trade off of that next turn. But if Shugo doesn't evolve it this turn, that is.
Yeah. And at this point, it's kind of wondering how much of a priority is it to you to get Coco and Mimi in hand.
Right.
There's definitely a way to do it very nicely, right? Where you swing the Lyrial into the Lyrial, play the Cerberus, evolve it, and swing it into the Skull Beast. But that's one of the 2 Evolve Orbs that you have to spend in the game.
Right. And your opponent has already spent 1 of his 3. So if you can squeeze by the turn without spending 1 of yours and gain tempo as well, I mean, that's a big advantage that you've gained. You're still able to go first. You're going to have the first play Ector.
And you have the Evolve Orbs.
Right. Possibly saving that to evolve the Ector on turn 7 right when you play it.
So it's going to be 5-4. And if you play your own Cerberus and evolve it, it's just going to trade, which makes this situation garbage. Now, you've got Shadow Reaper Bone Chimera, but even if you evolve the Bone Chimera, that Cerberus is not going anywhere.
It's not able to trade into it. You've got to take off the Cerberus. I think that the play has got to be... it's got to be the evolved Cerberus. He could... Chimera and Shadow Reaper, but no. I mean, yeah, real difficult position he's in. It's going to clear the board, but I mean, if Shugo's got... Oh, it is going to be the Bone Chimera, Shadow Reaper.
Want to play?
And is he going to swing? He has to, right? If he evolved it, you're just going to let the rush go to waste. There's 2 skeletons, and the Shadow Reaper gains 1 damage. This does open up a possibility for the Cerberus to swing face.
That's a lot of damage from a 5/1 follower. There is not quite at the place where he can use the enhanced zombie party. He's got Coco and Mimi. I mean, would you put the Coco on the Cerberus 7/1, knowing that's just going to be traded into a skeleton next turn?
Yeah,
That's a lot of damage right there. I mean,
I think you do. So Shadows is definitely an important thing for Shugo right now, either through Phantom Howl or building a large Ector play on the next turn. As well as preserving cards on board here is going to be really important because you want to make sure that there is at least something that can swing face. Noah's going to really have to respect that and clear the board here. The 4 damage Shadow Reaper, but Zombie Party plus another little ping will be able to take care of that Reaper pretty well. I think this is just about as good as you can do in Shugo's situation.
not even going to spend the Coco on the Cerberus, just putting it on the Lyrial, spreading out the damage just a little bit more. I like that play.
Now, I think Shugo is trying to force Noah into trading his Shadow Reaper instead of figuring out some kind of way to play around keeping the Shadow Reaper alive.
If he wants to clear the board, he's going to have to do that. He could Death's Breath or evolve the Cerberus, play that, evolve the Cerberus, and then
I mean,
he
if
could...
you played Phantom Howl, it would get rid of every single card on the board here, right?
Right.
But the Reaper doesn't benefit from any of that.
Right. He could have evolved Cerberus, traded in, and then played Mimi, gotten rid of his enemy Cerberus. His Shadow Reaper would have been buffed up to 5/5, and he would have cleared the board entirely. But he didn't do that. He's wanted to get the ward. I like that play, considering that there is an Ector in the hand for Shugo.
Yes.
But the 2 zombies he's going to summon, 6 shadows, it's going to be able to clear the ward, and he could get rid of the Shadow Reaper as well, trading in with the Cerberus.
Yeah. The Shadow Reaper's going to buff up here.
Right.
It's just enough for Cerberus to take down.
Poor Shadow Reaper. He tried to climb up the ladder as fast as he could.
Couldn't quite make it up there. Now there's another Cerberus that you can immediately spend Coco and Mimi once you play that.
Oh, but there's another Death's Breath for Noah. That's huge.
Wow. These draws are...
He's running out of shadows.
We're getting to that point in the Shadowcraft Mirror where you're just
Right.
kind of playing options back and forth.
Right. When you've got so many shadows to spin, you've been spinning up this whole game, it allows you to play 2 Death's Breaths back to back and getting the ward from both of them.
Maybe Sergeant and Convert.
You've got the zombie party, so that would get rid of one of the zombies, and you get a lot of zombies yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you can still trade in with the Ector as well into one of them.
Now
And you can still convert one of the zombies as well if you wanted to.
Which I think right now options are what you're going for.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have been worth it in that sense. Oh boy.
Time to go a little while.
There's a lot of danger on the side of Noah's board, and he has the Coco and Mimi here and the Phantom Howl.
Yep, he could get rid of Ector. He could get rid of one of the zombies if he wanted to. Giving Coco to the zombie, trading into the Ector. That gets rid of the Ector, but, I mean, then that's your one ward that's now gone. Going for face. Okay, setting up for Phantom Howl next turn. I like that.
Now, Phantom Howl will only at the most reach 9, and because you already used one of your Coco and Mimi's,
Mm-hmm.
he's already used Coco, it will only reach 7. It doesn't have evolution orbs
But
anymore.
I don't think Shugo's going to be able to take out the Shadow Reaper.
Mm.
So that's going to be another little bit of damage if Shugo gets rid of the zombie.
Shugo
and
has the ability to get the Death's Breath out here if he just
Mm-hmm.
trades in and gets the Shadows to put up the Death's Breath.
Mhm.
And that'll be important for him to do.
I think that might be the play, trading in with
It's for you.
at least one of the zombies.
He's trying to build
here.
Shadows here. He's trying to get as much of his zombies to gain the benefit of that
Right.
as he can. I think the play here might be to just have... I mean, you could do it both ways, right? Ector into Cerberus as a Death's Breath.
And then just go for face damage right here.
Yep, so he's going straight face damage.
Mm-hmm.
He's confident that you can't get past 4 wards. Oh.
That's a lot of wards that Noah has now. And now is the time when we see top deck Grimnir.
Yeah.
Now that becomes a very real threat when these zombies all have 3 defense and ward.
So what is the play here? Is there a way to clear out all the wards? Oh,
Oh my gosh, yes. How much damage is that going to be? Oh my goodness.
That's 8 plus, so you got 2. Well, now you've got 12 plus 7. You've got a total of 19 damage. But each zombie has to swing into another warded zombie here. And there it is, Ector for the kill.
You're too strong.
Yeah, that Ector top deck. I don't know if there's any more appropriate of a way to end a Shadowcraft Mirror than an Ector top deck.
I think you might be right.
We've already seen the Grimnir top deck win
Right.
a Shadowcraft Mirror. Now we see the Ector top deck. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, usually those top decks came from Noah himself. There were multiple times, I feel like, where Noah has top deck Grimnir
Yeah,
in
Noah
certain
got that
situations.
absolutely legendary Grimnir top deck
Yeah.
a few weeks ago.
Yeah. And maybe having a taste of his own medicine. But the end result of that was Noah didn't actually move on in the round of 8. So now that Shugo has gotten to the top deck for the win, Maybe Shugo now has used up all his luck factor.
We'll see. We'll see.
It's going to be brought down to earth.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why Shadowcraft is so strong. There's so many cards in the deck that you can win from top deck. Phantom Howl can win you the game. Cerberus, Ector, Grimnir in your deck as well. That's a lot of cards that if you bring your opponent down to that health range, then you can win the game just from a top deck. So you're really playing the odds in your favor when you do that.
Going second as Swordcraft. Now, the good thing is you've got Hold Souled Swing, which is great at taking tempo back. Especially going second, Hold Souled Swing is really important against a deck like Shadowcraft that plays early followers. And Lural Archer is definitely good to have early on because you get that turn 4 evolve where you can ping and swing. The old ping and swing.
Right. And Mentor's Teaching, just in case you're unlucky and you missing 1 damage from on turn 10 with what's his name, Albert. If you're able to play that, Enhanced Albert for 9, Mentor's Teaching for 1, that could be absolutely crucial. Yeah. Especially when you're able to get an extra 2 damage from the 2 attacks.
All right, nowhere to play Mentor's Teaching yet, just because there's no follower on board.
Right, but he's got the Lyrial next turn, Wholesouled Swing as well. If Noah is able to play a 2-drop on his second turn, Wholesouled Swing is a very strong card just for that purpose when you're able to go second, following up your opponent's 2-drop.
All right, turn 2. Still nothing super comfortable to play for either player here.
Nice to see
I would expect the Lyrial just to drop.
Probably. Just
point.
get a little bit of tempo. Force your shadow opponent to deal with that, possibly spend a zombie party just to get rid of it.
Drop it.
He's thinking about it.
Do. Oh my god. I've been on the internet too long.
You've been on the what?
I've been on the internet too long.
I think we've all been on the internet too long.
There it is. He dropped it. After moments of deliberation, he said, okay, it's worth the memes. I can hear the song rattling my brain.
There's the 2-drop. There's the Dark Conjurer.
He's going to choose to go for the Bow Chimera, which, fine, you know.
Very strong, turn 3. 3 cost, you get 3 1/1 followers, essentially, if it's not banished or something.
Ooh, the Quicker Blader. That's good. Now, the Quick Blader, I think, has a few interesting options. You can play that, play the Mentor's Teaching, get a bunch of face damage. One of the best ways, kind of, and we've seen this happen multiple times to Shadowcraft, is just going straight face, right? Whereas some decks, especially when they're trying to play Shadow Reapers, because in many ways, like, if you force your opponent to constantly proc his own last words and you're just doing damage to him,
right?
Then that Shadow Reaper is sitting there and he's like, oh, I want to get buffed, but nobody's like attacking any of the followers.
There's no followers. No one showed up to the party.
Yeah,
exactly.
Shadow Reaper is just sitting there all by his lonesome.
If Noah had guts, he'd play Catacomb right on turn 4 with nothing. Got the guts.
It was a good board clear there. Shugo made the decision to just wipe the board out, so now the Catacomb is eating lunch alone.
Yep.
Right? That was a very common play we saw before the nerf, around the 2-play point, 3-play point.
It is the Catacomb all by itself.
Okay.
I was kidding, but all right.
Okay. He's got Evolve on this turn, too. There's some real potential here.
Yeah, he
Especially
could.
with Grimnir protecting you as well.
Grimnir and Mentor's Teaching be able to get another 1 bit of damage, and the Lyrial Archer for 1 damage as well. That's 7 damage this turn, plus an Evolve. And the other Night Trading in.
I think it's worth spending Evolve. I think it's worth it.
Yeah. Especially when you could ping the Catacomb for 1, trading in with a Knight as well, getting rid of that 2 damage, but getting rid of those 2 followers. I mean, that's huge. When your opponent has spent Catacomb, a 4-cost follower on turn 4, only getting 2 1/1 followers, I mean, that's a huge way to punish him.
Okay. Now, Tsubaki is an interesting card. We kind of talk about that a lot in the Swordcraft world against Shadowcraft, and how there's not actually a lot.
Yeah, in the Shadowcraft matchup, you're absolutely right. There's not a huge amount of targets for it. Essentially, Ector. Maybe an Evolved Cerberus.
He's saving the Mentor's Teaching. Is he saving the Mentor's Teaching for for a situation where he goes all the way to turn 9 and gets the enhanced Albert, evolves and puts the Mentor's Teaching on for that double 6 damage.
I think so. I think so. I think that's exactly the reason why he has the card in the deck.
I would have spent it a long time ago. Soul Squasher just squashes the soul of that poor little Lyriel.
The important thing to note about Mentor's Teaching is that you get the 1 bit of damage, but you get the draw as well. That's huge.
This is great. A great board there.
Oh yeah, absolutely stellar.
And now you find yourself in a situation where you've lost board control, you've done no damage to your opponent's face. You have a bunch of Luminous Mages to play, but you've lost a lot of momentum.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that momentum, you have to do 7 damage to face, choosing to go for board clear. And your opponent goes back and clears the board themselves. Both players sitting at very healthy. Shugo at 20 health and Noah at 19. Shugo does have Luminous Mage evolve this turn, getting rid of the Soul Squasher and having some strong followers himself if he decides to do that right on turn 5. And there's not many other options in Shugo's hand. He's got Tsubaki for next turn if we do see the Evolved Cerberus, which we possibly might. I think we very well might. That could be very, very nice. Considering the Luminous Mage only has 4 attack, it's very tempting to evolve the Cerberus and trade into the Luminous Mage because the Cerberus is left with 1 defense.
This preserves a little bit of health on the Knight. Going to be left with 3 defense rather than just 1, I believe it was, if it were to evolve and trade in.
Yeah, and this turn you can evolve the Cerberus, trade into the Luminous Knight, and use Coco on the Dark Conjurer for an extra bit of 4 damage. That has got to feel really nice knowing that you've got the Immortal Thane coming up next turn as well.
Just a good set of options in the forward path for Noah here. Didn't even use the evolve.
Probably
playing around Tsubaki.
Yep, probably wants to save that. Very good choice.
Or Fencer. Especially when you have all this extra evolve.
Right. He does still have the Luminous Mage. I mean, using that card to get tempo is huge, especially for the free evolve orb that you essentially get.
And I think it's interesting because you do want... I mean, one of the big issues here for Shugo is that he lost a lot of the cards that he had on board, right? We were talking about that, how Noah was able to clear the board and only come out of that whole situation with 1 point of damage taken. I think it is important to play the Floral Fencer right now. You need to continue to try to challenge the board state.
And now Noah has got Zombie Party, which is a great play here. If you want to spend your last Evolve Orb, you know, that'd take out the Steelclad Knight pretty nicely. You know, that's exactly what Noah's going to do, knowing that you've got the Immortal Thane next turn. You don't have an Evolve Orb for the Immortal Thane. But Shugo still has a Luminous Mage and 1 Evolve Orb remaining as well. That's big. That's huge.
Yeah. Evolve Orb is going to be a really big tool. And he's still got that Mentor's Teaching.
I've been holding onto that card since the very start of the game, hoping that it's going to come in handy. I would love to see that card win the game here.
Would definitely be. Ooh, he's going to spend it here. He's going to draw. He's got some Rush, or rather he's got some Storm damage.
And he still has the Geno available, so he can trade the Knight into the 4/2 zombie. And Geno's still going to be left with 1 defense trading into one of these Knights, which is really nice, ensuring that you get at least 1 more attack or 1 more removal option out of your opponent. So that card gets massive effect. There's
Double Reaper.
Double Reaper.
Play the Thane first.
Upon you.
Could trade the zombie into the Geno, and you get the 2 ping damage from the whites. It's gonna be the Mimi to get rid of it. Okay, yeah, I like that. And the Immortal Thane still only has 4 attacks, so still not a target for Tsubaki. Noah really playing around that option.
I think that's really smart. You're getting to the point where you're hitting that 9 play point territory. You still got Luminous Mages to power your evolutions. You could play something like Novice Trooper, Luminous Mage, but all game long you haven't been able to really swing damage to face. That feels really bad.
Right.
You're done for.
Both players trying to play out the options of their opponents, setting themselves up for lethal later on down the road. Definitely the story of a mid-range against mid-range deck.
I think the choice here, he plays his trooper, is looking to get some kind of board control, and only the Immortal Thane is left on the table. And another zombie party.
Oh, that's huge.
Take up my shield.
This is basically Swordcraft's worst night.
Yep,
Where
right
it just
here.
seems like your opponent has endless floods of the board.
Man, clearing the board, getting 3 zombies and a Shadow Reaper. Oh my gosh, that's huge.
And he's just not drawing big late game options.
No, he still hasn't even drawn an Albert. He hasn't come into the Mage Leader, so he's not really able to fish for those commanders.
Definitely played out 2 Luminous Mages, so it's really likely that you'd pull the Albert.
Right.
It's just not there, and even then, it's not like we've seen a Front Guard or a Dragon Slayer.
Either way, Shugo's got his work cut up for him this turn. He could Geno and then Veteran Lancer, getting rid of at least one of the attacks, but man, that is such a strong board that Shugo now has to deal with.
All right, the Shadow Reaper is just sitting there.
Lurking. Sitting and waiting. He doesn't have anything, Shugo doesn't have anything like
Oh,
a
he has
Cyclone
more than
Blade.
enough shadows
Yeah,
to power that White King.
Won't be long now.
14 shadows. Oh, goodness.
Could still even play the Reaper along with it too.
Yep, another Reaper and another follower to trade those 2 zombies into to really make that Reaper even stronger. That's huge. And a Catacomb as well. Oh my goodness. This is just switched entirely in Noah's favor this game.
I really think you play the Reaper, maybe play the White King, and you start trading. Get them their protein supplements.
Yeah, possibly he's still going to want to... It's tricky because the Reaper could get above 5 attack and then it's a prime target for Tsubaki. That's important to remember. Because if he trades into the ward, and then if he trades into the ward and goes face, then that's the Reaper's left at 4 attack.
Yeah, but
And
there will
Tsubaki
be a
can't be
method.
used.
There will be a method for Shugo to kind of specifically run his troops in to buff the Reaper up and then play the Tsubaki.
Right. Right, very true.
So knowing that, I feel like it's definitely more worth it for Noah to set up to swing face here as much as he can.
You wouldn't.
So he just chooses to swing with 1, and that Shadow Reaper definitely will get taken down by Tsubaki. But there's not really a good answer to kind of take control of the game here. Mentor's Teaching could draw you in Albert.
Take my blade of resentment.
Yeah, you've still got the White King there to deal with, which, man, Ward and Bane, that's huge.
On Noah's 11th. Oh.
Grimnir, but there's no way to trade followers in and get them destroyed. The only option you have is just go for face damage this turn.
He needs a strong... Is there even an option that will save him?
Cyclone Blade?
Fang Blade?
There's no Cyclone Blade, I don't think, in Shugo's deck. Not a card that...
He needs to draw.
Blade of resentment.
You get to Tsubaki, but it just opens up a spot on the board for Grimnir.
Needs to kill everything.
If he doesn't attack, then he will still live
So,
another turn because there's only 5
1,
damage on the board, right?
Well, he has Grimnir. So,
But he's not going to be able to play it if... No one won't be able to play Grimnir if all the boards is filled with 5 skeletons.
that's very true. That's very true. Don't swing for the love of God.
But even then, I mean, Shugo,
Do not swing with your Tsubakis.
Then next turn, even
So
if
what-
Shugo
what
top
if you
decks
pull-
Albert,
What if you pull an Albert, right? You do 6 damage. You basically have
do 14 damage. Yeah.
You wouldn't.
That's not gonna. Oh my God! And Grimnir's definitely gonna end your life here. There's two. There's 2. There's just 2 sitting there.
Oh my gosh.
That's how it's done.
Oh man! And he drew Lyral. Shugo drew no late game cards at all.
Yep.
You're mean.
Didn't even draw.
Excellent work.
Didn't even have a Grimnir for turn 10, man. Didn't even have an Albert.
Beauty together.
I wonder if Shugo just tried to fake Noah into raging by taunting and then pretending like he had a kill swing.
Yeah, I think Noah knew that. I mean, even. Well, what if he had an Albert Mentor's teaching that would have been 16 damage with the 2 Tsubakis?
He would have been able to drop both of them.
Right.
Because if you drew the Mentor's teaching, then spent the Mentor's teaching, then it wouldn't be on the double swing. But yeah, if he had Mentor's teaching, it would have been 16 damage total.
Yeah.
He's 8 and then 8 from the 2 Tsubakis.
Yep. Noah was at 19 health.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Something like a front guard. Something would have been so nice. And I have to wonder, trying to fight for board control against Shadowcraft, I don't know if that's really your answer. I just think it's always eternally so difficult, and especially with Swordcraft, how it's going to be hard for you to continuously gain back that board control over and over and over again.
Right.
I'm not really convinced that that's the answer. But
in that matchup, the choices you make about when you go for face damage and when you go for board clear are very crucial. And we saw those choices have massive implications in the beginning of the game for the later stages of the game.
Yes, absolutely. So, Shugo will be knocked out and Noah moves on. Everything just as planned for Mana Surge's red.
Yep.
And let's take a look at the brackets and see what's going on. Here in the semis, we got Omega, Jay-Z, and Noah in the semifinals, and we still have yet to see who moves on between Lest and Exodium. Now, I just got an update for that matchup between Jay-Z and Unlucker. There was a point awarded to Jay-Z because Unlucker submitted an invalid deck and had to change it, so he was able to kind of make that fix, but in order to make sure that there was some element of integrity there, he was disallowed to play that newly submitted deck for integrity reasons, and had one game docked against him for that. So he had a little bit of a upwards battle there for himself, but that's going to be the reason why he was one game down. But Jay-Z was able to move on with a very convincing win for himself. So
now we're going into our 4th game with Lest and Exodium. Lest, our highest points earner, and Exodium, one of our weekly champions. It's going to be a tough match, an uphill battle for both players.
Yeah. Lest Exodium was kind of the other big matchup that we talked about quite a bit here. Lest being the top seed, kind of the MVP of Season 1, the man to watch out for, the player to beat, or the player to run away from. Either one, whichever direction you want to take it, but Exodium definitely is not in a comfortable spot here.
No, not at all. And Lest, his dragon deck, Red talked about having the more storm options, hopefully designed to take down a dragon on dragon matchup when there's Bahamut's, when there's Aetherfills coming down. A lot of bombs. Being able to Erd a Forte is just, I mean, it's too much damage. We'll see. Lest is hoping for too much damage here.
Now, I was on the Shadow Nexus podcast. The guys were gracious enough to invite me over to just hang out with them, talk a little bit about Shadowverse. Exodium said these words: I might make a lot of misplays on ladder or, when I'm testing new things, but in the tournament, I make no mistakes.
Wow.
I make no mistakes, he said in tournament.
Quote.
And so, Exodium, the man who traveled to the mountains, to the caves, lived in isolation and hid himself away, studying the arts of dragoncraft, of shadowcraft, of whatever craft he brought. I don't quite remember, but he studied, and now he has come with the most finesse of decks, and is trying to challenge the current reigning terror, Lest.
All right. We'll see if the skills Exodium learned on the mountain will be enough to take down our reigning champ. Both players have got, I'd say, great hands, honestly. These are absolutely stellar hands. Plenty of ramp for both players. We're going to be ramping up right to turn 10 very, very, very quickly.
They're both taking a little bit of a handshake. We all know what's going on here. You guys just want to play at 10 play points. Play big cards.
Let's get to turn 10 as soon as we can, and then it just becomes the mind games of each player trying to bluff and maybe make their opponent think that they've got the Bahamut when maybe they don't. I mean, it becomes, that's sweaty, man. That's that's really tough to deal with.
We're in for the long haul, Sterling.
Yep.
Get your popcorn.
I'm ready.
I've
already got my popcorn. You've got your pasta. Pasta's done.
Definitely do not have pasta here. I definitely did not just wolf down a plate of pasta.
Definitely did not.
Definitely did not. Ooh, 2 Draconic Fervors, and 1 is animated.
Very, very furious looking Draconic Fervor.
No, that's the Fervor.
It's the fervor of the
spirit.
Draconic Fervor?
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
You can see how much force it's pushing out. The Dragoon Scyther that was right next to it. The wind that the Fervor, you know?
Right, that's what that was.
Uh-huh. Exilium's got animated cards all over the place, man.
Oh my gosh.
Got an animated Forte there for less as well. So cool. So cool. Oh,
If he evolves the
boy.
Forte, Exodium...
But there's spells.
Yep, there's plenty of spells.
He's got 7 damage.
He's got 7 damage right there. I mean, that's big.
9 to
Nothing
the face.
Nothing to laugh at there.
9 to the
Jeez.
face.
Yep, Breath of the Salamander will be able to take this up nice and easy,
But
but
if you play
then...
Breath of the Salamander, that means you didn't play Sybil. If you didn't play
Right.
Sybil, that means
he doesn't heal. And you can still Sybil in Breath of the Salamander.
yeah, just take out the
Yep.
Forte.
A worthy opponent.
Swing for face for less than your opponent did.
But, you know, it's face damage.
16 to 14. Oh, he's
Oh, gets
gonna
rid of the
ramp up
Aelia.
his buddy.
Gotta take a break.
His buddy's going to 9 play points, and the Fervor will put him up to 10, but I don't think that's a very high value move. I think you want to play some followers at this point.
Right.
Are going to play another 4. So how do you get rid of that Sybil in a good way? I think this is the big question, right? 5 defense is just 1 defense too much.
For Grimnir, right.
Mm.
Yep.
For most cards that are of that cost value, right?
Yep, a full enhanced Breath of the Salamander would do it, but you...
Fervor? Even if you Fervor, like, you would probably not draw, unless you Fervored into, like, a Scyther or something like that.
Right. Right. Hmm.
You definitely don't want to throw your Forte in there. And Red talked about this a little bit, right? If you spend your Forte defensively,
You're playing into your opponent's hand.
yeah, right. And the real tragic part about this is there's still another spell for that Forte.
Now, this is turn 10 for Exodium. He doesn't have a 10-cost follower, but he does have the Easterfill. And Evolved Easterfill is going to be able to take out that board, easily healing him for 4 defense.
And then the Sybil will heal. Oh my god. Oh my god, this guy is pumping out the
Oh,
heals
jeez.
like he is a magician of a certain color that is the opposite of black.
Take a break.
All right. Gonna pretend like I know what you're talking about.
Not
and
enough of a nerd.
move on.
Not enough of a nerd. All right, that's okay. That's okay. I've come to grips with.
I really only listen to like half the things you say. If you
Sorry.
know, being honest.
I admit defeat.
Oh my gosh.
God! He knows, right? He pulled the
Easterfill is
fervor.
too much, yeah.
The thing is, right, because Isafil does so much damage, and if you had just Isafilled and Scythered to
Mhm.
Storm, that would have been enough to clean your clock.
Right.
Lest tapped out.
Tapped out. He didn't. I mean, we didn't even see a Bahamut or an Ouroboros played that game as well, and we saw how huge Ouroboros
It was
last
definitely
week.
not the long haul.
No.
That choice by Exodium, I want to say,
Hmm.
to ramp up his opponent too, certainly a risk, right? Because you had
Mhm.
no idea what was coming down
Right.
the pipeline. But definitely at the time that he did it, and how the choices that were available at that time for Les in that situation, it was kind of forcing Les into a really uncomfortable situation, and he had to play it out in an awkward way. Exodium took
Hmm.
advantage of that.
Right.
I think that was a really good choice in that.
Yep.
in that
He knew that Les would have only been on turn 9, meanwhile putting Exodium himself on turn 10. That's huge.
Mhm.
Now we're going into a shadow on shadow matchup.
That Sybil. That's why you never let Sybil survive.
Yeah.
Right? There's 2 turns of Sybil just chilling there, and then you got Israfil and the Sybil.
Healing for 7 on 1
4,
turn. Golly, it's huge.
3.
Yeah,
We've
and
seen some incredible healing. I mean, the first game of the day with Akawi. Oh my god.
13 healing right from that Bahamut. Bahamut goes for face. Oh yeah, I just got 13 damage.
Yeah. And then the
Evolved Kawi. Oh
Ouroboros.
jeez.
Yeah.
Oh no.
The Ouroboros
bummer.
healing him for 10 on top of that.
Yeah.
23 health just from those 2.
And we've actually, I mean, the Shadow on Shadow game that we saw lasted longer than the Dragon on Dragon game.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
Yep. Now you got to be thinking. Everybody decided that Les was going to move on, but is Exodium here to put a stop to all that?
It
That's
could
what
be
he
it.
said.
He said he doesn't make. He says he doesn't make mistakes.
He don't make mistakes. He don't make mistakes, and that definitely was a tough choice there.
I don't know if
mistake.
if I was less, I'd have steam coming out of my ears. I'd be primed and ready to take this game, man.
You'd be boiling the water, getting the tea ready.
Yeah, the winner of this game goes into the semifinals and faces Noah. Either way, gonna be a tough semifinals.
I am the Mad Cyclone.
Sure, buddy.
You're mean.
Les going
Whatever
for
you say
face
you are.
damage right on that turn.
All right, Zombie Party is here, and we know how nice Zombie Party. I mean, Grimner is kind of that awkward kid that doesn't like parties, you know.
Yeah.
When the
right,
Zombie
right.
Party rolls on, Grimner just disappears. He's like,
I'm not having this.
I'm not part of this.
Nah. There is a Shadow Reaper and a Soul Squasher play right here on turn 4. I mean, when you're going first, getting that first Shadow Reaper on the board, considering that Les already has 2 followers on board, I mean, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
But if he
Oh, he's
wants
going for it.
to get some effect from
Yep, Sculpies.
Sculpies, yeah, great. Yeah, he's going to have to trade both of his followers in here to try to get at least one of them killed for the Shadow Reaper.
And the ward still stands. And this also makes it much less justifiable to use a Zombie Party.
Hmm.
You might have to do it anyways. Oh, but the top deck on the Shadow Reaper actually is so tough because now it's kind of like my Shadow Reaper is going to have ambush longer than your Shadow Reaper, so
Right.
I have the opportunity to control the pace of the game a little bit better.
And the Lariel can ping for 1 damage right here,
Mhm.
which is really nice, getting able to take out that ward. The Conjurer can go for face and trading into the Skull Beast Lariel will do that. That's a 4/4 Shadow Reaper, but there's no other followers on the board to really deal with that. There's a Soul Squasher. That could be really nice.
Yeah, definitely think that's a choice here. And you can play the Bone Chimera.
Great.
Much different game than the last Shadow on Shadow matchup we saw. This is very much players are exhausting their hands very fast in this game. Les already has 2 cards in his hand with Exodium. He's going to have 5 cards in his hand this turn. A Soul Squasher of his own, but he's only got 3 shadows, and the evolved follower on the left side of the field is a Bone Chimera. Definitely not the most viable target for a Soul Squasher.
So if you Zombie Party, then you can Soul Squasher. If you think you're going to have to evolve something, then the Dark Conjurer can be a big card to drop as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Want to play?
Yep, that's 3 damage to
Focus is
the
definitely
3 damage to the Reaper.
you
and
Dark
then-
Conjurer here.
The 4 damage right from the Ghost, yeah, to the Shadow Reaper. That's really nice.
For you.
And he still gets 2 skeletons. And now Exodium's Reaper is 4/4. There's no evolve on the table here. I think you may as well swing face.
Yeah, Les is going to have to trade into the Reaper
He doesn't make mistakes though.
anyway this turn. He doesn't make mistakes.
Is it face? Is that the place?
The scary thing is that I believe him. Like,
It's not the place.
So angry.
He chose to take down the Soul Squasher. And that means that there's definitely a way to eliminate Dark Conjurer.
I'm coming for you.
She's coming for you, man.
I like the way she says that. I'm coming, comma, for you.
Hmm.
So that basically implies, if grammatically, that for your purposes, she is arriving.
All right. Yup.
English is very challenging, okay?
It is. English is a sucky language.
And your pronunciation is very important.
Yep.
Don't
oh, yeah.
want to be giving off the wrong messages. I
Mhm.
recommend this ghost continue to
to learn the
study,
language,
yes.
to study. That is our recommendation
please
from the Rainy and Sterling School of English.
of which we are masters of.
Of all the things that we've said, that is one of the most not true things
Yes,
that we have ever said.
we are definitely not masters of the English language. Hey, now we find ourselves in a situation where Exodium is at 14, Les is at 18, and there's one more skeleton than what Exodium has on board, and now
Mhm.
there is one less Dark Conjurer And the Exodium side of the board is looking real lonely right now.
He's looking real lonely, but Les has only got 2 cards in his hand. He's going to have 3 next turn.
Do you spend another Soul Squasher to squash the Dark Conjurer?
You've got the Shadows.
Or do you save the Shadows?
Yeah, you've got the Shadows, but you've also got a Phantom Howl, but you don't have that. Well, yeah, there's the Soul Squasher right there, but you don't have an Ector. So that's 2 cards out of the hand of Exodium right there.
The fact that you have the Skull Beast will boost your shadow count up quite a bit again. So I think it's fine to spend a Soul Squasher there.
Right.
Especially because you have in hand your Phantom Howl.
Right.
Now, the fact that you spent the Evolve means that you won't have a big Phantom Howl Cerberus combo, right? I mean, it'll still be pretty big, but it won't be 11 damage big, right? It'll be 9 damage big.
And of course, the only amount of Shadows you need for Phantom Howl is 5 at the most.
Oh, and I can definitely see a situation where Exodium's going to be real unhappy if he doesn't draw into his late game options. They're just trading back and forth now. Got 2, 4, 6. Death's Breath.
Oh, God, that's huge.
This is one of the best mid-game options that Shadow has to offer. I feel like Ector is the only way. Oh, boy.
Ooh, another zombie party.
But you don't have any wards.
Yeah, you don't have any wards. Oh, my gosh. And those zombies with just 1 extra defense, it's so difficult for zombies without the enhanced ability.
If the top deck for less is Cerberus, this game is done.
Cerberus or Ector.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's 6 cards. I'm guessing there's 3 Ectors and 3 Cerberus in Lest's deck. 6 cards you could draw that would win
he's
in
trying
the
to set up a
game.
Phantom Howl clear. But he's going to have 1 zombie remaining. Unless you Phantom Howl first and then use Zombie Party to clear the last part, but then you're left with an empty board. Oh boy. Oh,
With an empty board, but
that's
you
a lot of
save
resources.
yourself. Yeah.
Yep. Is he trying to play the Bone Chimera? Is that
Probably just giving Bone Chimera a nice target next turn if Les wants to keep his
I think that's
ward.
a smart choice. Save that Zombie Party to again build yourself a bigger board, and maybe in the future you'll have a chance to Death's Breath it as well. I like that choice
Skull
from
Beast.
Exodium.
What are you hiding inside?
Okay, well, that's a lot of skeletons being saved up. And we're edging ever closer, so that Dark Conjurer is not going to be the super ideal drop here.
He did get the Zombie Party. That's a pretty solid late game option. I mean, in this matchup, I mean, it's not the worst thing you could have drawn. Another Death's Breath.
Oh, God.
Oh, goodness.
This is just so much pressure. And the statistical advantage that's being gained in this scenario. This top deck has to be big. It's nothing again. So now, again, Exodium has to make resource inefficient trades.
Exodium has had pretty bad draws the past 2 times. I think he's due for a good card next turn. I don't know if it's really going to matter with Phantom Howl in the hand of Lest.
There's 6 damage here. Oh. That means you definitely need a ward, because based on how these cards trade out, that Shadow Reaper is going to be unstoppable amounts of damage.
Yep.
Accompanied with the Phantom Howl. You need a ward here. It's done.
It's done, I think.
It's done. Exodium drew into the Bone Chimera. And what was that? 4 turns in a row that he was getting some 2 play point, 3 play point drops that offered him little to nothing. And Exodium has to tap out, so that means Les will bring it back 1-1. And I think that's a very interesting Shadowcraft game where we see once again where Shadowcraft just doesn't draw into the options that you need, right?
Right.
You need things like Cerberus, you need things like Ector, those big drops. And one of the big things about Shadowcraft is, as much as all the cards definitely have their purpose in the deck, you don't have a way to tutor out your options, right? You don't have a card that says, I'm going to draw the highest cost card in my deck, or I'm going to draw a card that does 5 damage or more.
Those do exist.
Yep.
Shadowcraft has those cards that put high cost followers on the field, or that have been destroyed, puts them back on the field.
Yeah. And even then, like, you really think about the draw options that you have. Soul Conversion.
That's pretty much it.
That's it. That's it. You are
bow before
You
Dark
are
Dragoon,
succumb
ruler of
to
the
your own
skies.
fate in many
Mother,
ways.
father, come on.
Les starting off the match
Oh,
with
there they
2
are.
Ouroboros right in
There's
his
the
hand.
Hectors.
Gonna get rid of those right away.
Exodium found him in the next game.
Both players completely mulliganing their hands.
Yeah. All right. We'll see. This is down to the wire. Exodium versus Lest.
The winner of this game goes into the semifinals and faces Noah for a chance at the first prize of $4,000.
To the bone.
This is the grand finals. This is the finals of the finals.
Let's get into trouble.
Not yet. Finals of the qualifiers. The finals of the finals, the grand finals, will be later tonight as the final game. I'm going to stop saying finals now.
Was that your final time speaking the word?
Nice one. Nice one. That was pretty good.
I'm sure I just caused a lot of people to have a lot of grief. Twitch chat.
You just caused an angel to shed a tear.
Quick, catch the tear. Oh God, it's the buddies.
They're holding hands, man. They're going to the prom together. Getting their picture taken. There it is.
Inseparable friends. Oh no.
Of course, next turn, he's got the Breath of the Salamander for possibly next turn. Might just want a Sybil, get a big follower, and, the ramp and everything like that.
The only thing is there's actually not good options in terms of followers on the board to ramp up that Shadow Reaper. These Shadow Reapers. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's either way, they're going to be prime targets for Breath of the Salamander next turn.
I think, contextually, Exodium is pretty far on the back foot, actually.
Lewis
So I
Waddle.
think these Shadow Reapers won't necessarily be threatening. He has to evolve to play around the Salamander, but if he evolves, he can't buff up the Shadow Reapers.
Time to go a little wild.
And the Cerberus is going to be left with 1 defense. Yeah, that's really difficult.
He's going to have good pressure here, for sure.
Had to let loose
But the
lately.
Breath of
The
the Salamander.
Salamander is
yeah.
going to clear everything out.
Yeah.
All must come to
He
an
gets
end.
4 damage for it.
He gets 4 damage for it and an empty board to play another
And he
Cerberus.
spent 2 Evolution Orbs.
Next turn, yeah.
Do it.
Yeah,
Burn
you're
them.
right. He spent
Burn
2
them.
Evolution Orbs for that.
Burn them all.
When you take a chance hoping your opponent doesn't have Breath of the Salamander,
And then he
they
draws
always
Breath
have
of
Breath of the Salamander.
As if cued by fate itself.
Mm-hmm.
The next card on the top of the deck.
So there's a good establishment of board for Exodium. Be great if you drew another Breath of the Salamander right there. Sadly, this is real life, and that doesn't happen. I'm sure it has happened.
Oh, that's strong.
Is it? I was under the impression Bahamut was a kind of meh card.
You're right. I would have to check with multiple figures of the community.
Bahamut's a great card.
And the Rahab got
Ooh,
to...
Laterial with perfect 5 damage right there, and you could still Catacomb as well. Golly, that's one terrifying board.
I'll show you.
Yeah. I was just about to say, I wanted that Rahab to survive. And I wanted Les to just hit that end turn button.
Give it an extra 10 defense. Oh, actually, we
attack.
should get in a custom game after this and see how high we can get a Rahab.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then just do nothing else except end our turn until Rahab has 25, 50 attack.
Oh, no!
Oh, goodness. He doesn't even have to play the Bahamut this turn.
I think you want to find some way to... It's awkward
Mm-hmm.
because you play the Breath of the Salamander, that's your turn, right? Everything
Right.
is 5 or above.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still going to be skeletons on the board. And you've got a Mimi in hand.
You've got Grimnir for next turn. That's nice.
And you've got Phantom Howl. There's no evolution.
Mm-hmm.
So that heal is really important.
Yep.
Sybil...
Evolve Sybil into the 4-2 zombie is nice. But you're already on turn 10. Would you want to use the Grimnir? No, he's not going to use the Grimnir. It's going to be the Sybil. Still healing
So,
for 3, yeah.
That's going to put him up to 16, which is actually really good. definitely out of lethal. You can play another Cerberus here. And that continues to buffer your reach.
Exodium's got 10 damage if he plays the Cerberus and the 3 Cocos and Mimis.
Yeah. 3, 5, plus 6 is 11, right?
Caster math.
Yeah. Basically, every time you play a Cerberus, that's 4 damage. So then you just get a 4 plus 2. Then there's 3 1 damage followers there and 1 2 damage followers, so that's 5. You get 5 plus 6. So 5 plus 5 is 10, then just add 1 on to that. That makes it 11.
Come to an end.
I love how quietly you're explaining this. And he was still able to clear off the Sybil and get face damage. And he still has 2 followers that have last word summon zombies. So even if the Grimnir does come down, or the Bahamut, or the Breath of the Salamander, ensuring that Exodium will still have followers on the board, still threatening damage.
This is one happy Grimnir. A 5-0? Oh my god. This Grimnir is going to record this, post it onto YouTube.
Selfie, man.
Put some disgusting music behind it. Oh no, it's going to be Bahamut that's going to take all the kills. Straight wiped out.
He always takes the kills, man. So selfish.
The 2 skeletons are just sitting there shrugging their shoulders. What are we supposed to do against Bahamut? There it is.
Yep, 11 damage right there.
Yep, and that's what we talked about with setting up that second Cerberus. It's the pits for you, he says. She says. Oh my god. Exodium!
He beat Les, dude.
Exodium did it. And this is what's so dangerous about when you draw into things like Cerberus and you start stacking up the Cocos and Mimis, and you have things like Cerberi, or rather not Cerberi, you have things like Phantom Howls, you have things like Skeletons and whatnot. It's so cheap. It's so cheap, right? Phantom Howl being at 4, and then each of the Coco and Mimis just being 1 apiece is so efficient. By the time you're at 6 play points, by the time you're at 7 play points, it happens real quick. Cerberus activates at 5, then already at 6 play points. The next turn, you can already play Phantom Howl plus a 2. Then as the turns go on, you can start playing, okay, I'm going to play Coco, Mimi, and Mimi, right?
Right.
And the Phantom Howl, that's 7 play points.
Ensuring that you have the damage you need no matter what. He didn't even play Hector.
Yeah.
Didn't need it.
Yeah. It's absolutely amazing. I now think if he had played Grimnir, he would have wiped out all the cards, left the 2 skeletons. So he would need to swing. So 2 skeletons, kill 1 skeleton off, kill a 2nd skeleton off, play the Phantom Howl. 1 ghost would have to swing in. So you had 4 ghosts plus 6 damage, 10. How much health did he have at the end?
He had 11. It was exactly 11,
You would have lived with 1 health if you had played Grimnir.
Well, that didn't happen.
Let's take a look at the bracket and see. Lest has been knocked out. The first seed, and Exodium, who was sitting, giggling to himself in the darkness of his cave while he concocted the strongest of lines of play and decks, has moved on to the semifinals. Omega JZ on the top end of the bracket. That's EXG and Mana Surge. And then on the bottom, we've got Mana Surge's Noah against Shadow Nexus's Exodium. We've got 3 different teams here in the semis. 2 of them are Mana Surge players, so they are definitely weighted on the stronger end.
And they're on opposite sides of the bracket, so it's possible we could see Mana Surge on Mana Surge in the finals.
Yeah, there's definitely a possibility. Before we get to that point and see the semifinals happen, remember to follow our Twitter at WatchNGE. Go there, you can see any kind of announcements, updates when the stream goes live. Sometimes some cool moments here and there. There's a little tweet of like a GIF, you know, maybe somebody just top decking Grimnir, and he says, "Oh, I'm gonna play that."
Look what I've got here. Yeah.
I want to punch him in the face.
Everyone wants to punch Grimnir in the face.
We will give you the opportunity to build your own Grimnir and more. 3,500 vials for giveaways. This is your last week. It's the last week. Make sure you do it. You got to do it. Definitely do it. Information in the Twitch panels. Also, the bot is probably talking about it.
Up chirping away.
I'm pretty sure the bot tries to pretend to be human, makes these very nice sentences, but it uses
that's
things
terrifying.
like capitalization and punctuation.
That's
Definitely
terrifying.
not.
I don't like the thought of a robot pretending to be human. Brings my worst nightmares to life. Philip K. Dick is not happy.
Yeah, definitely not. Hey, so we have just concluded the round of 8 for the final day of the playoffs of the Shadowverse Open. We're going to go through a little break, and we come back. We have Mana Surge's Red joining us again to talk through how his teammates have made it through to the semis now, exactly as Keikaku, right? And we will see the unfolding of the semis into the finals. Who will win the $4,000? Who will not? After this break, we'll find out. right, we are back. The Shadowverse Open. We're not in the open entry phase anymore.
No, this is the finals, man.
Yeah, we're at the last day of the finals. Final 4 players. There's only 4 remaining. We started out with this many, and then it became that many, and then it became that many, and we're
Are you
people.
sure it was this many? I think it was this many.
Yeah, you might be right. Hey, let's take a look at the bracket real quick and show you exactly how many that many is. 4 people remaining: Omega, Jay-Z, Noah, and Exodium. Now, Omega and Jay-Z have to be facing off against each other here right at the start. So one of them will move on to the finals, and then it's going to be Noah versus Exodium. And one of them will be moving on. So it's entirely possible that we will have a Mana Surge team kill right in the finals. And Mana Surge seems very fond of beating themselves up.
I think they'd be perfectly okay with that. Both having both Mana Surge players in the finals. I mean, how excellent is that for Mana Surge?
Yes. Give them the old handshake. Hey, but talking about Mana Surge, we have one more Mana Surge guy joining us, the captain of the team, the leader of all, the person who is maybe possibly the mastermind behind this dominance, this craziness that is the semifinals of the playoffs. Red, how are you doing? How is the tournament so far?
Yo, thanks for having me back. The tournament's going pretty well for Mana Surge, I'd say. Both the members are surviving. Sadly, that team kill, it hurt. I was both happy and sad watching the entire thing, but both played to their best. And so did the others. Specifically Exodium taking down one of the biggest players in the game.
Yes.
There with last. That was a tight set.
Yeah.
So
I think some really good decisions made for sure, and Exodium, let's see if he can push it all the way to the finals. He's definitely been preparing in silence here, but let's take a look at the decks of our first matchup, Omega versus Jay-Z. Now, Jay-Z was kind of your top pick, kind of within the Mana Surge realm. This is Omega's Bloodcraft deck. Now, looking at it, we've kind of seen Vengeance Bloodcraft quite a bit, and Blood-Fed Flower Bed is one of the cards that has been getting increasingly popular since I believe the Rage Finals featured this deck in a big fashion. Tell me a little bit about how this deck is constructed and what are its advantages and what kind of puts it a cut above against the current meta.
So the first thing you need to know about Vengeance Blood is that it's a very fast deck. It's a fast mid-range deck, most would call it. It stops the curve at 5, and it relies on that Belphegor into like Dark Air Jammer. But the one thing that obviously Dark Air Jammer has to make you hold back on your deck construction is you can't really run many 1-drops. We saw before in other NGE Opens and other JCGs that some were running Ambling Wrath, but most people said, why would I run Ambling Wrath when I can run Blood-Fed Flower Bullet? Okay, that's
Five
there
times.
you go.
5 times in a row.
There you go.
5 times in a
Okay.
row. Ready, set, go.
Blood-Fed Flower Bed. Boom, got it.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. Good. All right, pass.
But yeah, so that is pretty much an Ambling Wraith for 4 turns guaranteed. And I feel like most people have seen that as just better, and you don't really care about taking that damage early on. That's why you don't feel bad playing Spiderweb Imps, Blood Wolves, the Flower Bed all early on,
Very good.
because Belphegor is going to come down and deal that damage anyway. So
Right.
it's so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
Right, and I think you make some very good points about that Vengeance Blood deck. Let's take a look at Jay-Z's Shadowcraft deck, and now we've seen Shadowcraft a lot. And this one in particular is running Erd, which might be a little special. I mean, she kind of seems to appear sometimes and disappear sometimes, kind of like I put her at a little bit the same level as Immortal Thane. Talk to me a little bit about this version of the Shadowcraft deck.
So I talked a bit about in the pre-show how Jay-Z was trying to beat Dragon with this lineup as well. Just the easiest deck to try to tech for and make it better. And alongside this with the Attentive Knights, you can definitely create some very powerful boards that are very sticky. And we've seen that the one big thing about Dragon is that it's very hard to deal with sticky boards as Dragon. They just like to clean up boards very nicely. They don't really want any death rattles. My fault. Last words. But yeah, so it's more in sense text for that, but it also should be fine against the other deck Omega has, but we'll talk about that later on with his Nephthys Shadow. But against Bloodcraft, it may be too slow, but there's still the chance where obviously the easiest way to beat Vengeance Blood as Shadow, mid-range Shadow, is just get your Cerberus, get your Phantom House, gather the shadows, get somewhat early board aggression, chip in a bit of damage, and they'll bring themselves down to the 11 HP range for that combo of Cerberus and Phantom Howl and evolution for that 11 damage.
All right. Well, we've come to that point where we're about to launch the semifinals match. Anytime now it's going to be starting. Before we do that, Red, have you changed your mind? The semifinals players, Omega, Jay-Z, Noah, Exodium. Talk to me.
Nah. Okay, now it's fine to say that I believe in my Noah, my man. He can do it. There's,
Nice.
I just want to point out, Exodium is not running Odin, so Noah should be fine. If any of you guys know that joke, you are legends because you've been around the community for a long time. But yes, I believe that we can't. This is probably the best bracket for Mana Surge at least. But Exodium, he made an upset last round, so I would not be surprised if he could make an upset now. But I think this is going to be an uphill battle for Omega, I would say.
All right. So we are predicting a Mana Surge finals. Before we let you go and bring you back for the next semifinals, Blood-Fed Flower Bed, go. He's not going to take it.
He chickened out.
He's checking out.
Oh my gosh.
Can you do it, Sterling?
I think we just hung on the Fed. Blood-fed flower bed. Blood-fed flower bed. Blood-fed flower bed. Bam!
Wow. You are a trained... So, if you didn't know, Sterling is actually a trained theater actor.
I'm a classically trained actor.
Wow. He has skills that some of us don't have. Okay.
Oh, do you take drama class?
I majored in theater, yeah.
Really?
In drama in
That's
high school.
awesome.
Yep. Totally.
All right.
Mhm.
Well,
Wow, that's actually awesome.
Thanks.
Good luck to both players.
we'll get to talk more about that later. We'll see you in just a bit, Red. And now I'm stuck here with Sterling all alone, this nerd.
He scoots away. We're both nerds. I mean, come
That's
on.
true.
Yeah, for sure.
That's true. What about for you, personally? Okay, we know that Red is a Mana Surge guy, so he's always going to say Mana Surge.
Right.
But what about you?
I like Exodium. I don't know.
Mhm.
He's from Arizona. He's from Phoenix. I went to college in Phoenix. I mean, I feel like I've got to root for the Sun Devil, man.
Mhm.
I've got to root for Fear the Fork. I've got to do it.
Did you
I've gotta
just...
do it. Fear the Fork.
Wait, you did
Come on.
that?
It's that.
Huh. Why is there the extra space here? Is
It's
this
supposed to be a
people?
pitchfork
Oh.
for ASU's
Got it.
thing. Come on, man.
Sorry.
State school,
Apologies.
get with it.
Hey, anybody else out there from Arizona, confirm, deny, also show your support.
Mother, father.
Yeah. Shout out in the chat. ASU. Woo! Woohoo!
You're so alone. You're so
I'm alone
right now.
So alone.
All right. We're into the mulligans here. Omega and Jay-Z.
It's gonna be Death Ledger against Mid-Range Shadow. We'll see.
Have you made a pact with a Nether God before?
No. Actually, little known fact, I have not made a pact with the Nether God.
What happens when you make a pact with a Nether God?
Nothing nice, I'm sure.
Uh-huh.
Nothing fun. My mother would not be proud of me
Omega is definitely keen on doing so.
if I called home and said, "Hey, Mom, I made a pact with the Nether God." She's like, "All right, be home by 8. Stay safe."
And I won $4,000 with it. That could be Omega.
That could be it.
That could be Omega right now. Nephthys Shadow.
Nephthys, yeah. Yep.
Nep.
And Omega, he's got the Death Ledger. That's nice. Got to be able to drop that on turn 4. He's going second. So he's not really going to be able to use a turn 4 Evolve Orb, which is kind of a shame because, I mean, you get the 4/4 Lich on the end of your turn, so you're not able to really use an Evolve Orb.
Yeah. Now, Red was talking a little bit about it, how this matchup for the standard mid-range Shadow against Nephthys Shadow could be a little bit in favor of Jay-Z.
Right.
And he talked about how the Erd with the attendants, kind of getting the Liches could be really tough.
Really great play, though, using Ghostly Grasp and then Undying Resentment. You spend 2 cards there, but you get rid of the Attendant of Night, and then you ensure that you had enough shadows to get the enhanced 2 Necromancy cost for 4 damage from the Undying Resentment. Really nice play there.
Actually, really tragic because Erd was the next draw for Jay-Z.
Yeah.
If that attendant had just survived for one more turn, that Erd would have popped the attendant. So if you guys don't know, Erd, when coming into play, destroys one of your followers and then plays the follower again. The Attendant of Night says when he is destroyed, he summons a Lich. So, when Erd gets played, Attendant of Night dies, the Lich pops up, now you have Erd and the Lich. And then the Attendant of Night resummons itself, so it's there again, and you can kill it again and get 2 Liches.
That's right.
For the cost of 1.
For the cost
Purchase
of 1.
now. Make sure you dial shadowverse.ng.io.
Nice, good plug there. They caught me off guard. I was not expecting it.
Supplies are limited.
Supplies are limited to 3.
Jay-Z definitely didn't get there fast enough because the Attendant of the Night was already gone and gone.
You gonna mess with me?
And now Jay-Z's got a really great play here. He's going to be able to evolve the Lyrial Archer ping for 1 and then trade into the Lich if he wants to, and also get a Cerberus on board as well. You might just want to evolve the Cerberus. I mean, but then you leave your Shadow Reaper right on your side of the field. It's only going to have 1 defense and not going to have ward, or not going to have ambush.
There's not really a good play here, I feel like, for Omega to cleanly deal with it.
Yeah, real difficult choices. He's got
I mean,
the zombie party, so he can get rid of the Cerberus, evolve, and trade into the
So go
Reaper.
for the Reaper. Zombie party the Serb.
And you still get another Lich this turn, too. That's huge. Man, Death's Ledger, such a good card. For a 4-cost amulet, you essentially get 2 4/4 Liches. That's double value. That's insane. 200% value.
He's
Goodness.
making his value right now. This turn, in fact. That second Lich was really what the kicker is.
Yep.
Of course, the timing of these cards popping up is very important.
Right.
But I think that's kind of helped more than hurt in many ways.
Yeah, I think you're right. Jay-Z does have a Shadow Reaper of his own, as well as a Koku and Mimi in hand. He could...
He has 1 turn to buy before Ector.
Right, I think Shadow Reaper is a play here, being able to get...
We've seen that before. The
Yep.
Shadow Reaper before the Ector turn. And maybe the choice is to Shadow Reaper evolve, put Coco and Mimi on top, and then just wait.
I am the Mad Cyclone.
Want to play?
Okay. He's gonna clear off the board.
My power's uncontrollable. Ow!
Shadow Reaper down.
Tear to shreds!
Nice. And now there's an Evolve Orb on the side of Omega here. So can swing through the ward and take down the Lyrial. That's gonna mitigate the 4 damage.
You could evolve the Attendant of Night, trade into the ward, get rid of that, and then get another Lich yourself. That's huge as well. And he still has the Attendant of, or the Undying Resentment to play this turn as well. Saving the Pact of the Nether God for turn 7, I believe it gains its enhanced ability.
All right, 3/3 on the Shadow Reaper means it'll do 6 if Ector is played on this turn. Ector will summon at least 2 zombies.
Yep, that's incredibly high value play. Showing us why Ector is one of the best cards in the game, trading into those Liches, buffing up the Shadow Reaper even more to 5/5. It'll be at the end of the turn when the Ector buff goes away, so swinging for 7 damage here.
Oh,
Not
boy.
something to laugh at
And it's still
whatsoever.
not Neth's turn. And we were talking a little bit about, okay, there's voices. And we were talking a little bit about the speed of Neth's decks, right? Is it too slow? Mid-range Shadow is mid-speed, whereas Neth is definitely leaning into the 7 and 8 play point turns.
Right.
Doesn't quite peak until a little bit after that.
Yeah, and he's not even turn 8 yet. He's still only got...
For
He's going to be able to Pact of the Nether God, the Reaper there, because it was on less than 4 health, but he doesn't gain the enhanced ability. And there's still the Mimi in hand for the Ector, so yeah, Jay-Z's still able to close out the first game.
There it is. Jay-Z going up 1-0, and now it's up to Omega to make things work, coming from behind now. Coming from behind, and things are still going as Red predicted. Jay-Z is dominating so far. Doesn't seem like he's had any trouble, and has to just take one more before he moves into the finals. Now, remember, round of 8 to round of 4 was $500. This is $1,000.
This is $1,000.
It's $1,000 here.
Second place, $2,000. Correct.
$2,000, yes.
Nice. Nice, nice, nice. So $1,000 on the line right here. An extra $1,000. Whoever advances to the finals will guarantee that they have a shot for the first prize of $4,000. We cannot say that enough. We actually can't say it enough, but we're going to keep on saying it. $4,000 first prize.
This is, oh God, what a hand. That's a bunch of too expensive stuff.
You've heard it here, folks.
Omega, you know, saw some expensive items, knew that he wanted them, but had to borrow money to get it, and now he just can't pay for the stuff that he picked up.
He does have 2 zombie parties, so a zombie party here is going to be able to get rid of the Urias. That's huge.
Goodbye.
Urias, oh my gosh, such an annoying card with 3 defense for
If
a 2
I remember
drop.
correctly, Urias is a brother to Albert.
Let's have some fun.
If I remember correctly.
They might be brothers. I think you're right. I know they're from the same clan at least. Oh my gosh, another zombie party here going to be able to take out the succubus. I know they're from the same clan or family, as it were, whatever they call it. Urias Levin Duke.
Levin Duke.
I want it. It's
Oh my gosh, dropping the Belphegor right there on turn 4. He's got the he's a second Evolve Orb, so he's not going to be able to evolve until next turn, but he is going to have the Dark Air Jammer with the Evolve Orb next turn. That's huge. We'll see what Omega is able to do to take advantage of it.
So he's got his 3rd zombie party.
3 damage.
There's literally no card that Omega can play to mitigate the damage that's come down. He's got at least 10 damage here.
Take the souls of millions and arise. The time to
Alright,
awaken
let's get
is
summoned.
here.
Not the best use of an evolution orb.
Yep. But you're right. He's got at least.
Oh
He
my
might just.
God.
He could just trade in with the Belphegor, get rid of the Lich. You have to do that with this deck. Or I mean, evolve the Dark Air Jammer trade in. You're still left with a 5/2 Dark Air Jammer. That's huge.
Air Jammer could just pull you a bunch of Blood Wolves, and then you're doing a lot of damage to face. You evolve, take down the Lich.
Either way, whatever the Air Jammer pulls, I think Jay-Z's sitting real pretty.
Oh,
A Urias and a Blood
goodness.
Wolf. That's nice. That's really nice. Still able to do 6 damage to face. And he's got 2 Dark Generals in hand as well, as a Diabolic Drain as well. So he's going to have a really solid 6 play as well if he wants to either Spiderweb Imp and Dark General or Urias and Dark General. He's got the ultimate hand right now.
Zombie party on the Air Jammer.
Yeah, Omega's not, he can't even play Death's Ledger. He has to clear off this board. And he's not even able to. There's still followers left on the board. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, and the Razory Claw as well.
Yep.
What's that? 7. Could be 9. The Razory Claw would be 12.
Mm-hmm. He might want to, well, I was going to say he could use the Imp instead of the Razory Claw. He's going to get a lot of damage with the Evolved Dark General anyway. You might as well get the Ward. The 2-cost 1/4 Ward. It doesn't do damage because you're already in Vengeance. And just ensuring that you give yourself that little bit of a safety net because you already have another Dark General, right?
Double Urias. Play the 2nd Urias.
Double Urias. It's going to be that. Wow.
There it is. The instant you play any follower, you're taking 2 damage ping.
Mm-hmm.
With 9 damage here, you're going to put yourself at 3 and Razory Claw will kill you.
Mm-hmm. So even if he did have a Hell's Unleasher or something
you gotta
like that.
play Resentment on
Yep.
one of the Uriases. Okay.
But my will abides.
Oh, man.
And
Does that actually ping twice?
and then the Lich comes in, yep.
Oh, my God.
And Bloodcraft showing us
Jay-Z!
how formidable Bloodcraft can be with a perfect draw.
Jay-Z! Oh, my God. Oh, too easy.
He didn't take any damage after he played Belphegor. That was the only
Yeah.
damage he took.
So
How
much
insane
pressure
is
going
that?
So much pressure
Golly,
going down.
such a strong deck.
Nephthys was just too slow.
Mhm.
It was like watching some big, slow, fat guy run around, and Jay-Z was just spinning in circles,
He just kept slapping him, man. That's all it was.
just bopping him on the butt.
Mm-hmm.
It would do 720 degrees and then bop him again.
I'm waiting to see how long you go with this.
That was it.
I'm trying to like image like what
That
it
was a
exactly,
super
but
fast
yeah,
semi.
It was very fast.
Super
Oh,
fast semis. Let's take a look at the bracket real quick. And it looks like Jay-Z has made it into the finals, and Omega got absolutely crushed
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
with a Nephthys deck in his pocket. He tried to make it work, played it first, and that usually means in Conquest format that that's the deck
Right.
that you're more worried about, and
Mhm.
rightfully so.
Right, but Omega's he made it all the way to the semifinals of the grand finals with Nephthys Shadow,
Mhm.
choosing to play the deck this week.
So he will lose in 3rd, 4th place,
Mhm.
and that means that he goes home with $1,000 and will be 3rd, 4th in the entirety of the Shadowverse Open season, but Jay-Z continues on. Jay-Z.
Jay-Z.
He's potentially about to make that first place finish. We have Red joining us again here before the next semis. Now, Red, I know everything happened super quick, so let me give you the rundown here. Nephthys was too slow.
Too slow.
It was way too
Sounds
slow.
about right.
Sounds about right. What? So, in your mind, did you think that there would ever be a way that Nephthys could have taken the win for the tournament here?
So I was talking with Jay-Z in between like the short little break that you guys had, and I told him, this is how you're going to win. Nep 2-0, easy peasy. You can do it. And he was practicing the matchup beforehand. He knew exactly this was going to be a pretty easy win as long as nothing went wrong. And it seems like that's what happened. It's just, like I said, uphill battle for Omega there. Just unfortunate lineup comparison there. Just pretty unfavored. So sad for him. But yeah, Jay-Z taking it 2-0.
Jay-Z moves on. All right, let's take a look at our next matchup. That's Noah versus Exodium. Now, we talked a little bit about the predictions here. Let's take a look at Noah's first deck. That's going to be Shadowcraft once again. And this one has Immortal Thane and opts to forego the Erd and doesn't really have that Attendant Lich synergy. That
But he's got a Fina as well. Just one Fina for a 5 Evolve follower.
Talk to us a little bit about this deck, Red.
It's just a pretty standard one. Fina's been hopping in and out of the Japanese list, so it's not really too surprising to people who've been following the Japanese scene, at least. It's a bit new here in the West, so I'm not surprised no one's really seen it before. But the idea is like it just gets you a free follower most of the time, a free 0-mana 2/2. It's never really bad to fit in, and it's like it's a solid list. It's been working since the beginning of the expansion. Even after the Catacombs nerf, it's still just as strong. So yeah. And obviously, it gives you that Catacombs on 4, so people have been cutting Orthrus to just run that instead. And it just fits in very nicely on the curve.
And definitely, there's a lot of very valuable 2-drops for Shadowcraft, so I can't imagine that you would be too upset about picking those up, especially something like Shadowcraft. Like Shadow Reaper. Let's take a look at Exodium's list here and see part of what he has to face up against. Again, more Shadowcraft. More Shadowcraft stuff, and this is almost very similar, right? Fina isn't there.
They both have an Immortal Thane, just one.
Yeah. And in your mind, Red, I know you had said that kind of Noah you feel a little bit favored here, and Exodium is kind of on that upset mode, right? So he might be able to come back in it. But if there is even a possibility for Exodium to push through, what do you think is his key major kind of quality to push at, right? What is his single advantage if you could identify one?
I feel this set will come down to who wins the Shadow Mirror or gets their shadow out of the way first. Because both have a very strong dragon that is pretty much going to be able to deal with the shadow. So an upset win with the shadow against dragon or winning the Shadow Mirror, it really is going to come down to that. And I think that is going to be where Exodium takes the lead and makes it so Noah falls behind and isn't going to be able to win. Or it may come down to a Dragon Mirror, which I know at least chat would enjoy.
Yeah, chat would love that. I think chat loves... Who doesn't like dragons?
Everybody loves dragons.
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody likes dragons. Dragoncraft Mirror just means you see dragons on 2 sides. Who wouldn't like that? Now, that's an interesting point that you bring up. Exodium, kind of put to the test, has to play Shadowcraft immaculately in this matchup. Now, traditionally, I know Exodium is a Runecraft lover. He loves Runecraft. I don't know how much experience he has playing crafts like Shadowcraft and Dragoncraft, and maybe that might be a stickler for him.
He's beaten less, though. I mean, come on, really? That's telling to me that he's ready to go. He said it himself. He doesn't make mistakes.
All right. How do you feel Noah performs in this mirror match, Red?
Noah's very good at Shadow. When Jay-Z didn't target Shadow, instead he targeted Dragon because he practiced with Noah playing Shadow and kind of just fell flat from there. So I think if anyone you don't want to fight when it comes down to Shadow or Sword even, it's just Noah. So this may be tough. But again, there is a bit of luck with going first and second. Definitely draws can favor it. It's really anyone's game in this, so just depends on how they navigate it.
Perfect. All right, we'll see you just before the finals. Going to get started here. It's going to be Noah versus Exodium. Can Exodium make the upset happen again? He's already taken out Lest. He's going to take out Noah as well.
Right.
The 2 strongest. David versus Goliath, if you would.
The 2
Except
strongest,
Goliath.
It's like Goliath versus another Goliath.
Yeah.
Or David
And
versus another David.
He's just got this stupid slingshot with a stone in it.
Both of them are just trying to hit each other with the slingshots from across the field.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep, these
Isn't
are
isn't that the weapon that David used?
slingshot. Yeah,
Slingshot
he hit him in the forehead.
in the forehead.
With the stone.
Yeah.
And he
And then
bound
Dude
from the
Goliath
river.
was just like, I don't want to play it.
I don't want to play anymore. Oh no, I'd like killed him straight up.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
What did he throw?
it was a rock.
All right. Well, I'm gonna stay away from all rocks from now on.
We'll see who brought the strongest rocks here in this game. This is the semifinals, man. The
It's
winner.
the Dragoncraft mirror.
It's a Dragoncraft mirror, like we talked about.
Yep. It's the Dragoncraft mirror. Everybody's loving it.
So both players, I mean, because of the matchup, both players electing to keep the Draconic Fervor when it came into their hands, knowing that they're not going to be run down very quickly. They're knowing that Draconic Fervor is still one way or the other. It's gonna come in handy. Definitely more of the mid-range play, but there's not that a lot of pressure in the Dragon on Dragon matchup that you have to deal with early on. There is the Lyra Archer coming down for Exodium, so a little bit of pressure, but with a Blazing Breath, I don't think Noah is really worried about that at all. It's going to come down to who can come into their late game options quicker and who can come into more of the late game options than their opponent.
All right. Exodium going first. Gets the first Isla down.
Mm-hmm. Just ruined that, really nice.
Oh,
Noah gets an
Isla
Aelia of his
answer.
own. Aelia for Aelia.
I see you. You see me.
I will see your Aelia, and I will call your Aelia.
Good call. Oh man! Wow. Skip turn 4. Okay. That might hurt actually.
It could. He didn't really want to play the Grimnir that he had. That was his only option, and it really just gives Aelia another follower to trade into.
Mm-hmm.
When you want to try to bait your opponent into trading into your own Aelia with their Aelia. We've been saying Aelia a lot.
Yeah. Hey, Exodium's is animated.
It is. It's a little bit better than Noah's because of that.
Mm-hmm.
That sword is sparkling.
Super cool. Nice.
Noah deciding if he wants to make a similar play, if he wants to play his Grimnir or not.
Okay.
And this puts Exodium in an awkward spot. Does he want to simply Draconic Fervor and trade in with the Aelia? Or if he wants to evolve it, I guess. Well, that's Noah going to be evolving his own.
Yeah.
Aelia.
I
Probably
think
going for
Noah's
face.
decision here is right.
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely an opportunity because he knows Exodium is put into an awkward decision-making position here.
Mm-hmm.
So pushing face damage as soon as he can and making sure that, okay, well, now the next turn here, I'm going to be even stronger because now I have the 4/4 and the 2/3,
Mm-hmm.
and I could possibly add on to it.
Yeah, it's forcing Exodium to use an Evolve Orb here to get rid of one of those followers, to get rid of the Grimnir.
Ow!
Now we're left with another 4 damage in the pocket here for Noah,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
possibly more.
And he's got a Draconic Fervor of his own. He's going to be able to ramp up and heal as well as trade in with the Aelia as well.
There it is.
Overflow is active now for Exodium. He drew into the Rahab there.
He could Fervor and Oracle. That would basically end his ramping journey.
Right. Drawing with the Oracle and the Draconic Fervor as well would put him at 9 cards, though. Be getting rid of 2 and then drawing 3, yeah. That'd be a little difficult, and he would be at turn 9. A little bit of an overkill for draw there. But I do like that he's got the Rahab as well. He's going to have to get rid of the Aelia as well. You might as well do it in a way that you ensure that you're going to be on turn 10 before your opponent. And if he trades in here, he might. I mean, he's evolving the Rahab, so he's going to trade in with the Aelia and then go for face here.
I've got to take a
I
As
think
opposed
this
to-
is
yeah.
smart because he still has a ramp enough to try to keep ahead.
Breath of the Salamander would clear the board. And he could ramp as well on top of that, ensuring that he'd be on turn 10 next turn before Exodium. That's really nice. Well, no, but if he does destroy the Aelia, then Exodium will be on turn 10.
Yeah.
I can't keep relying on you, Dragon.
Wow. I would expect you to evolve that. He's going to take another 4.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
There's a Polyphonic Roar coming down, but there is a Bahamut in the hand of Noah.
But then the counter Bahamut is the play.
Yep. I think it has to be the Bahamut. It has to force it out.
Yep. And 3 Grimners in the pocket here for Exodium as well. It's going to be Bahamut. It's Grimners all day, and that could get really dangerous because the Grimner can wipe away and kind of chump block as you put.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. We're into Dragons versus Dragons.
And typically in
What's
this
the top
Dragon on
deck?
Dragon matchup, the Bahamut is a much more high value card. Yeah, and Evolved Easterfill is not even
needs to
strong enough to
Scyther
take it out. He has to Scyther.
Yep. So he doesn't get the opportunity to play Israfil.
And when there's no Ouroboros in the hands for the Dragon players, they're really forced to play out their high value options here this early in when we get to like the late stage of the game, this early of the late game, I should say.
Now, what is the play here?
He's got Breath of the Salamander.
And then you're left with 4 play points.
Yeah. And you can't really do anything next turn. If he does that and his opponent has any kind of storm, you're just losing a massive part of the game right there.
The big thing here is the 3 Grimners into the 2 Israfils is a very bad kind of consequence of situations, right? Neither can the Grimner kill the Israfil, and the Israfil heals up. So you're almost getting nowhere.
If no one wants to play an Easterfield of his own, that could be huge as well. Ensuring that he gets another more face damage, and he'd overflow heal past 20 if he did that with Easterfield and Sybil. But then Grimnir on the side of Exodium is just even more high value of a play next turn.
There are a lot of great options on the side of Noah, but I do think that Exodium's Blazing Breath is still incredibly valuable. Especially because you get Blazing Breath and Scyther. Will he evolve and swing into the Israfil?
I think he's going to have to. And what a formidable board that Noah has been able to establish. Unfortunately, 1 Breath of the Salamander is going to be enough to take that out with 1 fell swoop. There's the Ouroboros, though. No Evolve Orb. He's going to have to play the Breath of the Salamander.
And he can't reach to any healing options here, so he just plays a Grimner to kind of
Plays
stop
the ward.
the
That's
tempo.
really smart. If Noah had a Genesis Dragon, that would have been it.
Now the counter Grimner could come down, or another Israfil evolve, but I think Grimner is probably the better option, or Sahak with the Israfil swing.
Maybe Sahak. I mean, you have the card, you might as well use it. If he did Israfil evolve an attack that puts Exodium at 7, and that's an extra 4 damage
And
right
this is
there.
really dangerous because the instant Exodium is put to 2 health, Israfil can just end the game, right? And if you're going to be trading Grimners, you're still going to lose because then the next Grimner is played, then there's the Evolve Israfil available, right?
He has to heal. He has to try to get some more options. He can get rid of the Grimnir, but he's not going to. He's just going to play the Sybil, heal up for 6 health total, ensuring that he's out of range. But, I mean, if Noah draws any Storm option here, it's the Wrath Drake. It might just have to be the Sahakwiel Easterfield this turn. There's no Grimnir available.
Yeah, he's going to be able to do 4 damage if he does Sahak Israfil. But then, if he doesn't evolve the Sahak Wheel, the counter Grimner will actually take down both the Grimner and the Sahak Wheel in one fell swoop. The other thing, too, is if Exodium ever finds an opportunity to play Ouroboros, which is hard because he doesn't have an Evolve Orb, but if he ever does, that could end up being really bad.
Right.
Because then he could constantly just get that healing again and again and again.
Right, if he ever finds the time to play that,
come to an end.
it's not going to be this coming turn. More than likely not.
Really good that the Israfil is getting out of here at the end of the turn, because it could just be lost to the Grimner.
Another Sybil in the hand for Exodium.
He could heal another 6 here, but I don't think that that's the option.
My tempest shall judge you.
He's trying to find value wherever he can.
Ow!
We'll see what the draw is going to be this turn for Noah. There's
Oh,
another
boy.
Bahamut. That's huge. Probably not
He's gonna
playing
have to
it
spend the
this turn.
Scyther. So he only has 1 Scyther in hand, and he wants to either use that on the Israfil or the Bahamut.
Right. Yeah, that's what Exodium is thinking for now, but I wonder what is in Noah's mind. He's got the health advantage.
Fighting is so sorrowful.
He's going to play Israfil this time. Just get up, back up to 20 health. Not
Oh, he
spend the
just
Evolve
lets it
Orb.
happen. Is this the opportunity?
It could bait out the Scyther, and that's the
do-
only way that Exodium really has to deal with a Bahamut.
Yeah. There's a Scyther.
Another Blazing Breath.
He could Fervor here. Oh. So there still is an opportunity. He still has Fervor for the draw, right? So he could, on the turn that Bahamut drops, Fervor to try to dig for an option to clear it out.
Right.
But Bahamut coming down here is going to... Okay.
Oh my gosh, Bahamut would be huge. But Noah, again, he doesn't know it's in Exodium's hand. There could be another Scyther. It could be a Zeus. Could be any number of options. He does have the Ouroboros as well to get rid of the Grimnir. He's sitting at 18 health. Getting the Ouroboros on the field could be really, really nice.
There it is. He chooses the Ouroboros.
Ow!
And you can even, being the archer, trade in.
I think that's really important to do. You really don't want that symbol to get the second heal.
My wings are killing me.
And there's the last evolution orb,
Yep.
which is really important.
There's another Bahamut for Exodium. Oh my gosh.
Wait. What even happens here? Okay, the Blazing Breath will kill it.
Right.
Okay. Very, very Oh.
Another Ouroboros.
It's actually not super useful.
Right. He's probably the play is probably just Ouroboros ping for face damage. Ensure force your opponent to trade into your Ouroboros because you've got 20 health and your opponent has 10.
The thing is, if you think that there's any kind of storm in Exodium's deck and you go face this way, I mean 20 health is a lot. It's going to be difficult to kind of just stop 20 health there.
Right.
You can play the Israfil and trade Ouroboroses.
My tempest shall
There's the
judge
play.
you.
And now you're taking 8 damage to face. But there's no healing. Ooh, down to 11.
Goodness.
Is there going to be a Bahamut trade here? Was that enough? Oh, the Sahak?
Oh, it's
It's going to be the first Bahamut, so now this next Bahamut coming down is going to be really strong. And Zeus.
He came into the Zeus. He's got the Storm option.
I feel like the tide is shifting a little bit.
Exodium's got the favor for sure. Noah doesn't really have a way to deal with the Bahamut.
Got
Especially
the
with Sybil
Sybil.
coming in the next draw. That's going to be huge. He's going to have to draw for a Dragoon Scyther.
doesn't get the
doesn't
Scyther!
get it.
Oh,
my
no.
gosh.
He tries again. He's got the storm. It's over.
He's got the Storm. It's
Exodium.
over. Exodium takes the first game. Yeah.
Back to the wall for the whole game long.
Goodness.
And
Comes
right
out.
at the end, the
right at the last
decision
few.
making. When to draw, when to defend, when to spend your Grimners. He had 3 Grimners, and he spent them very, very carefully. Oh, did he wait on it?
He bided his time, waited for when he knew that the Grimners were going to be incredibly high value, and he used that well.
Multiple times, right? His Blazing Breath use early on in the game as well, or he just waited. He knew that he could Blazing Breath early, but he waited and got Blazing Breath to take down 3 cards in a row.
Right.
And similarly to Grimnir, using that AoE at the right time, and just the ordering of the cards that he played were so intelligent in that particular game, he takes the win over Noah. So he wins the Dragoncraft Mirror. He still has to use his Shadowcraft deck.
Right. And we could be seeing a Shadow on Shadow matchup here unless Noah decides to stay with the Dragon deck. He is.
So the important thing is, by Red's estimation, the Dragoncraft deck that Noah is bringing is incredibly powerful. He thinks that it has the edge over the Shadowcraft matchup. So it means that basically it's going to come down to the mirror match, if that's true, right? Exodium looking to upset Noah by beating this Dragoncraft deck, but the likelihood leaning in favor of Dragoncraft moving on, and then leaving Exodium and Noah in a Shadowcraft mirror. Let's see if that plays out. But that was a very careful, methodical game played out by Exodium.
Yep.
He's got the Shadow Reaper in hand early on.
Let's get into trouble.
He's got the 2-drops and the 3-drop with
and
the
I think
Bone
he's probably going to
Chimera.
want to Chimera into the Shadow Reaper Lyrial.
Yeah, I think you're right. The Blazing Breath takes care of that, but Exodium still has the Bone Chimera at this turn, followed by
Oh, wow.
the Prince
Now he has a
Catacomb
lot of
next turn.
options here.
Yep. And still not many options, if any, for Noah. He's got the Dragoon Scyther, but that's his only card that he's going to be able to play this turn if he does so. And with the cards that the Shadow player has, that Exodium has, not really getting any use from that Scyther, because with 2 attack and 2 defense, the Scyther is going to be taking out the skeletons anyway.
Turn 4 Rahab is going to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine he's going to want to evolve that.
Yeah, they'll have the
I
evolved
think
Rahab
Catacomb
next
is
turn,
definitely
yeah.
the choice here.
Mm-hmm.
My boss works
That
under
is
the
gonna be
road.
the Lyrial with the Reaper. Interesting.
Okay. And so 2 cards are going to be removed here, both of them not the Reaper. And that's going to leave 2 skeletons for the Catacomb to put the last word effect on.
Finally a break.
Yep, if Noah evolves the Rahab and trades in, could be really difficult. Could come back and haunt him later. He might just play. He could play the Rahab in his turn, play the Rahab evolve in his turn, play the Rahab or trade into it. So there's a few options he has. Either one, not perfect. Not really a great play either way. He's got Grimnir as well, but Rahab definitely the better card to play in this
There's a
instance.
lot more where that came from.
He's going for the evolve and trade. I think that's important. 7 defense is so big.
It's absolutely huge, and he's not going to attack.
And I think this is important, right? You don't want to give your opponent shadows.
Mm-hmm.
Catacomb Chimera in?
He could.
Catacomb Chimera in. I mean, he can build the shadows, right? If he spends the evolve orb.
Right. He could do that. He just came into Cerberus. It's a shame that the 7 defense is going to be 1 damage short if he wanted to save the Reaper. So it's only going to be 6 damage. So that's still not that high value of a play. Yeah, it might just be Bone Chimera trade in and then Catacomb.
So if you play the Catacomb,
or you could trade in with the Chimera, evolve Skeleton trade in, then you have 4 shadows to use for the Soul Squasher. That might be the play. Ensuring that the Shadow Reaper gets buffed up even more, and you get rid of the Rahab as well. Still, it's a lot of resources spent just to take out 1 evolved Rahab.
I mean, next turn is going to be a tough turn, right? Because you don't have Sybil. Unless you top deck it here. No, it's going to be Zeus. So that means, like, Grimnir or Draconic Fervor.
Yeah.
Either way, you're passing the turn, right?
Evolve Grimnir. I mean, he's going to have to evolve the Grimnir. Oh my gosh, it's the Draconic Fervor. Cerberus here is going to be huge. He doesn't even have Breath of the Salamander next turn.
Cerberus. He really wants to focus on keeping board control because the Ector is coming down as well.
Catacomb's
so
great
I think
too.
I agree with the Catacomb here. Make it as tough as possible. Nice. The evolve is really going to make it tough for Grimnir to come back and evolve into it.
And Noah's only on turn 7. He's not going to be able to play Ouroboros. He's not going to be able to ping for 3 damage, evolve, and trade. This is huge.
No.
Exodium might have just won the game.
Oh no, and he draws another Zeus.
Oh no, he's got Oh, okay. Think about his turn. Think about his turn. What has he got in his hand?
So he can Blazing Breath evolve to take down the Reaper. He's going to place a Hawk. That's going to really help. And that's going to clear everything out, but summon a bunch of skeletons. And then when the Actor comes down, I think the game is over. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yep. So 4 damage and +8. Or 3 damage +6. Either way, you're dead.
That's 9 damage coming out next turn.
So now
with
Noah's
the
just
Ector.
living on a dream if Ector isn't here, but we all know that it's in the pocket.
Yep. That was the only play that Noah could have made. The best play he could have made, and Exodium takes it 2-0.
This guy is turning them smiley faces upside down.
The player who doesn't make mistakes advances to the finals, and that Shadow Nexus.
He called it. I am going to search for the broadcast. I'm going to clip it. I'm going to put it on YouTube. Did we say that on broadcast? I don't even remember if we said it on broadcast. I think it might have been before we went live with the podcast. We were talking around, we were joking around. It was Exodium, it was Aya Senpai, it was Sleet, and it was Unlucker. And we were talking about Exodium, and they were saying they really enjoyed my description of Exodium hiding in a cave, kind of developing strategies and kind of, keeping to himself. And Exodium said, I might make a lot of mistakes playing on ladder or when I'm streaming or whatnot.
I think it was the time he spent in the cave training on the mountain with Ra's al Ghul that got him prepared for this tournament.
Exodium?
I'm assuming Ra's al Ghul was there. He must have been.
Exodium. Let's take a look at the bracket. Let's take a look at the bracket because this is a situation that we are in right now. JZ versus Shadow Nexus's Exodium. Now, Mana Surge's members have been cut down to just 1. EXG has been eliminated from the tournament.
And we've got Shadow Dragon with Exodium and Shadow Blood with JZ. We'll see how the Blood deck can fare. That's going to be the crucial factor in this matchup.
Red, explain yourself. Explain yourself to me.
I'm pretty sad right now. I may need a couple of tissues to cry after this, but
I think we all do.
Those can wait. Poor Noah. He worked so hard. Try your best and you don't succeed.
When you try your best and you don't succeed. That roll on Shadowcraft into that Dragoncraft matchup was incredible. When you don't have Sybil on turn 5. And he chose to Draconic Fervor. He chose to Fervor with that kind of board control. And obviously, there was no way that Noah could have known what was in hand, right, for Exodium at that time. But what do you think of that decision at that point in time?
I feel that you should play it safe in the Shadow Mirror. So maybe he overthought that. Sometimes, though, you also have to take the risk and say, you can't just always play with your hand if it's not going to have a long-term effect. So clearly Noah thought, I'm not going to win with this hand this way. I need to get more options.
Yes.
And I just have to believe in the heart of the cards is really the best way you can say it, right? You just have to believe sometimes.
And
sadly,
something.
Yeah, he did not believe enough.
Yeah. All he got was Papa Zeus.
Yeah. Feels bad, man. Zeus, even though he's a god, he's still not strong enough to be.
You know who else is a god? Exodium.
Exodium is the god. He is the god. Anyways, let's take a look at this finals match. JZ and Exodium. You still have a horse in the race, Red. JZ's last deck here, the Blood-Fed Flower Bed. Now, we've obviously seen the iteration of this deck before, and I don't know if there's anything particularly different. Dance of Death was something that we saw early on today in the round of 8 be really, really good. Tell us a little more about how you see this playing out against Exodium particularly, I think is the interesting point.
I said it before, and I'll stand by it again. Jay-Z is set for this match. As long as everything goes according to plan, he got this. Okay, he's practiced for this lineup. He has practiced for this match. Exodium, he can make upsets, but there's only a limit that he can do it. He's only beaten Shadow and Dragon lineups. Let's see how he does against a lineup that maybe he wasn't expecting.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the lineup that I think is going to give him the most struggles. I think Jay-Z making it out of there, not being able to dodge limits, who probably had the worst, lineup that he would have to fight. Now has a pretty good, clean lineup to beat. He's practiced for it. So I'm interested to see if Exodium is able to fight this again, uphill battle.
So, Exodium, the underdog eternally. Let's take a look at his Dragoncraft deck that we talked about at length This is the Sahak Wheel version, and we talked about some slight differences between the Storm-oriented and the Sahak Wheel-oriented lists. This one, obviously, polyphonic. There isn't the Erd, there isn't the Forte, and there's not the Genesis Dragon. It's Zeus, which is definitely a Storm card, but very control-oriented in the sense that it has Bane, it has Ward. It's very good utility to try to kind of secure better board control. And is this fast enough? Is this good enough to face up against the Bloodcraft deck that we were talking about, the Vengeance Blood deck?
It definitely has the potential. Dragon has the potential. It's the top deck for a reason. It's very consistent at what it does, but it can falter in its draw. So it doesn't. If he misses his early ramp, he will struggle to win these games. So that's what it's going to come down to, I believe.
Oh no, it's all down to if he gets the ramp. Will he? He needs the ramp.
He's got to get the ramp, and Jay-Z's got to get the draw too. He's got to have the Belphegor on 4, followed by the Dark Air Jammer and the Generals.
Now, we're nearly at the end of the broadcast, Red. I first want to thank you for taking time out of your day, joining us here, enjoying the Shadowverse Open, and kind of talking through some of these deck choices and these matchups and some of the player insights and preparation. How do you think we've come to this point at the end of Tempest of the Gods, where we see Bloodcraft, we see Dragoncraft, we see Shadowcraft, and Jay-Z, who is favored to win, has finally made it with Blood? I feel like Bloodcraft has always been that deck that people have whispered about, right? They've said, oh, it's pretty good, and nobody played it until now. It's in the finals. What do you think of the season just overall and how it's boiled down to this?
I think this is a very nostalgic match and end of the season, because I should point out Exodium fought a player who had Shadow Blood all the way back when he won his tournament. Sadly, there were some issues, and he actually didn't get to play against the Bloodcraft deck. So let's see if he can beat it for real this time.
Yes.
I'm actually really excited. It's getting really hyped here for the North American playoffs, man. First time.
Yeah.
There is a lot of history
$4,000
here.
on the line.
That is definitely a great point. There is a lot of history here in Exodium having to face his fears. He tried to conquer his emotions by going to the mountains and training. Let's see if that's successful. I want to ask you one or two final questions here, Red. Mana Surge has a new exciting endeavor that they've kind of launched recently. Tell us more about that.
Indeed. We have our own official team website. You can check it out at manasurge.team. Pretty nifty link, I'd say so myself. We have all these guys. We even talked about some of the deck lists during the top 16 for why they brought them and researching their opponents and all that good stuff. So if you want to get more insight on NGE and that type of 2-deck format, you can check out that. There's some Liquify guides. There's some guides for on the budget and more. Definitely check it out so you can get to know the players and maybe start your adventure in Shadowverse.
Manasurge.team. MANASURGE.TEEEEEEM. Sorry, TEAM. Sorry. I spelled team wrong.
It's okay. English is hard. I can't pronounce blood-fed flower bed, so we're cool.
Hey, you just got it right there. You just got it right
Yeah,
there.
you just
That was
got it.
perfect. Blood-fed flower
Or do you
bed.
just think I did and I actually didn't?
Oh, yeah. I just filled in the pronunciation myself in my head.
Interesting.
Hey, and the last thing, Red, you've been such a pleasure to have as a guest on the show. You do so much stuff. You compete. You commentate. You have this team that you're in charge of. You're doing this website now. What if I want to become a fan of Mana Surge Red? What if I wanted to have the paparazzi take pictures of you, kind of follow everything that you're doing, know what you're eating for breakfast, know when you wake up, when you go to sleep? Where can I go to find more?
If you want to do that,
Gotta go to New Zealand.
you can just come over here and hang out with me IRL. That's all good.
Oh, awesome.
Or if you can't do that and afford the plane ticket here, you can follow me on Twitter at SVR3D. So yeah, which is SV Red, just pretty fancy, you know.
Nice.
So go check that out again at SVR3D.
At
on Twitter.
SVR3D. And then manasurge.team. Thank you so much for joining us on the desk, Red. One parting shot. Say something to the community out there, or if you have any fans listening, give us some words of wisdom.
Let's go Mana Surge. Good luck to Exodium. Do your best. Shadow Nexus against Mana Surge. Let's show them what they got. Good luck. This is the North American playoffs for NGE. Let's get hyped.
Let's get
hyped.
Let's get hyped. I know
like
Mimi's hyped. Mimi's super happy. She got a killing blow today, I'm pretty
She
sure.
did. She did.
He actually punched somebody. Actually, I think it's Coco that punches me. Wait. Is it Coco or Mimi? I think
Mimi's
punches
face
people in the
damage.
face.
Coco is the buff.
Mimi's real aggressive. She's got the angry eyebrows and all that stuff.
Yeah, she's ferocious.
Anyways, would again like to thank Red for spending time, but now it's just you and me, Sterling. We're about to head into the finals.
As it always is.
As it always
This is the finals, the grand finals. The winner of this match takes home $4,000 and is named the NGE Shadowverse Open Grand Champion. Who's it gonna be? Is it gonna be Exodium or Jazzy?
Exodium or Jay-Z. Oh, I think somehow he got an extra point there. Oh, no. There we go. 0-0.
0-0.
All right, it's kicking off. Dragon versus Shadow. Now, this is important. That's not ramp. That is definitely not ramp.
That is not ramp in his hand. He's got Breath of the Salamander.
Is he on the draw or is he on the play? That's the question. That is the question. Now, the early game looks pretty strong for Jay-Z here. He is on the play, which means that he only has one card to get
ramp. He still has more chances to draw into it.
Before it's efficient.
And Jay-Z didn't have...
Oh, my God!
There it is. Oracle coming in.
So he gets the extra
really
draw
nice
as well.
Coming into the one draw on the turn 2.
Yes.
Doesn't feel great, but he does have the Dark Conjurer down and comes into the Alia. How do you say it? Alia?
Isla.
Ala?
I mean, there's not the L-I-A, right? Or L-E-A. It's
That's true.
Isla.
I've always said
Isla.
Alia. Ayla.
Isla. Isla. I.
We'll say it your way. I like your way. Your way's good.
Ayla.
Ayala.
Ayala. Ayala. Ella.
So
all right.
Turn here for Jay-Z. He's got the Skull Beast. Probably just want to play that on the field. Go for face with the Dark Conjurer.
Disincentivized to kill that Isla.
Yeah, and you know that Exodium's just going to trade into it next turn, you know? So might as well just get some value from it, get 2 damage to face.
So here's the thing. There's some strong options. Got Phantom Hell. You've got Catacomb. You've got Death's Breath. You've got Cerberus. This is basically a very good package of tools that you're holding on to. And the removal from Zombie Party. I think Jay-Z with his hand is sitting very
Oh my gosh, Exodium has come into the 3 ramp options. Oracle and the Alia and the Draconic Fervor all on the turns that he played them on. Right on turn 2, 3, and then 4.
And the fact
getting those orbs.
The fact that there's Sahak Wheel as an option as well kind of really means that you can really gain tempo back here.
Yeah, he could Sahak Wheel if you wanted to. Or Sahak Wheel Bahamut.
Yes, Sahak Wheel Bahamut.
But I mean, Jay-Z's only going to be on turn 4.
Yeah.
Next turn when Sahak Wheel is going to be coming out. So I mean, it's possible that a Sahak Wheel could be viable, but I don't think it is because of this Catacomb coming down.
We're also at the point where Breath of the Salamander has the enhance effect, right? He's trying to go for face, and I think this is the way to go, right? You really need to gain speed and tempo back.
Oh my gosh, but with another Draconic Fervor, you could possibly even evolve this Alia here, trade into the Dark Conjurer.
Yeah, and now you're just left with a Prince Catacomb. Now, Cerberus can be played on this turn, and that's going to set up a situation where you could swing for a lot. Well, he's just going to use the Breath of the Salamander there to minimize the amount of bodies on board.
Right, he knows he's going to have Grimnir and Bahamut available next turn.
And I think playing a Grimnir puts a full stop to any of this pressure.
Yep, playing a Grimnir or even a Bahamut. I mean, what are the chances that Jay-Z is going to have something available to him to deal with a Bahamut? For example, it clears the board just like Grimnir, and then you've got a massive 13-13 follower, followed by a Grimnir to clear off any Death's Breath, any zombie parties that come out.
Exodium ramped.
Exodium ramped, and Jay-Z's in a really tough spot because of it.
Yeah. Jay-Z's just playing his 5 play point turn, and Exodium's going to be sitting there 2 times more play points than his buddy.
Yikes.
What is the play? What are you going to do?
I mean, you've got to play to your strengths. You've got a Cerberus. You've got to get Coco and Mimi just in the hopes that you're able to somehow hang on.
What if you do something like play a 10 Knight? Do you gain enough damage? Get 4, Cerberus comes down. Get 5, 9, put the Coco there. 11. You still can't kill the Bahamut, even in that case. Trying to swing face again.
And even when you kill the Bahamut, there's another one in Exodium's hand right there.
Oh no, here comes the dragon.
Coming down, throwing down the gauntlet. Everyone get your sunscreen. It's hot outside.
Bahamut versus
Gonna need
Skeleton.
SPF 13 to deal with that.
Yeah. Yep, and Death's Breath is not going to save you
No, when there's a
because in the
Grimnir.
back line, somebody's judging. The Cyclone. That is of the elevated emotional state that is considered mad.
The Mad Cyclone. Yeah.
Yep, that's it.
And that's really the only play available to
17
Jay-Z.
damage, 19 damage if you choose to evolve, but technically if he evolves, I mean, do 19 damage and kill him with Grimnir. You know what I mean?
Right.
Grimnir, evolve, do 19, and just Grimnir on the next turn. Oh my god. Oh my, this is, I can't watch. This is supposed to be a stream
Ouch.
appropriate for kids of all ages. But here we have just a vicious sack beating.
Yeah, there's nothing available to Jay-Z. He's only got the zombie party and Coco's and Mimi's. He's not going to be able to trade up the Bahamut, and even if he does, there's another Grimnir waiting in the hand of Exodium. That's going to be Exodium taking the first game.
Yeah.
He has to heal, but there's no healing available.
There's no healing. And unbeknownst to Jay-Z, this is just futile flailing. Neat combo, Erd. Sick play.
Says the Grimnir.
Oh no. And left at 3 health, here it comes. Listen to the voice line.
My Tempest shall judge you.
My Tempest shall judge you.
I don't even know
And
how that
judge
works.
he did. Exodium takes the first game against Jay-Z. What a performance.
It was exactly as Red said. You ramp, you win. And he ramped.
And he won.
So Exodium 1-0 now. Noah back to the wall. Back to the wall. I cannot imagine the amount of nerves you're feeling right now. $2,000 extra dollars. Now you've already won $2,000 at this point. But if you fail here, $4,000 is gone, right? That extra $2,000 is nothing.
And you're not the grand champion. Exodium has the chance with this next game to take that
Exodium
title.
knows it's just that. It's just one step.
You just got to click, drag, win the game. That's all it takes. A little bit more than that.
You just simplified Shadowverse down to
click, drag, win. That's how I do it.
Click, drag, and win.
Let's play together.
All right. Oh, a double Skull Beast. Probably throw away one of them. Yep. Oh, that's a pretty good roll on Jay-Z's side. He's going to keep the Skull Beast. He's got the Zombie Party and the Bone Chimera, and both of these hands, I mean, I think Jay-Z has a little bit stronger of a play here. And Jay-Z is going first. So this is a good opportunity for Jay-Z to strike back.
Yep, Jay-Z's going first. He's got the Catacomb right on turn 4, which is really nice, especially if Exodium decides to go aggro and just go for face damage.
Yeah. Now, Zombie Party just on the Skull Beast would earn you 1 ping damage and probably another on the next turn after that.
But do you spend... I mean, that's a pretty high-value card at this stage in the game. Something you want to spend on a Grimnir or another 2-drop.
We also know how valuable at the end game it can be. I mean, a lot of Shadowcraft mirrors we see, and especially today, have been dictated by constant use of Zombie Party to continually build your board. And I think that actually happened against Exodium.
It did.
Yeah, when he was playing his Shadow Mirror, the constant use of Zombie Party into Death's Breath was very tough to deal with.
And now I think he's going to have to spend the Zombie Party to get rid of the Dark Conjure, because that's a massive board that Exodium has already got, considering that Jay-Z did not have a 2-drop of his own.
And the big thing here is we talk about draw options for Shadowcraft. Having that soul conversion might be the big difference maker, especially on the Skull Beast. Swing with the Skull Beast, convert, get shadows.
Yep.
Draw cards.
Convert, get shadows, draw cards, a lot of shadows, and draw. That's a very great play for Shadowcraft. But Jay-Z really thinking about his options here.
And he needs to, man. Can't make a mistake.
It's one or the other. It's either going to be Zombie Party or Bone Chimera.
You definitely don't want to misplay, because Exodium makes no mistakes.
We're going to run that into the ground, aren't we? I think we already have. There's a Zombie Party of Exodiums. He's got one of his own. Either way, not really a great card here. Not the one you want to use. Taking
could
out.
clean up the board here and make the Catacomb very ineffective.
Right.
And play a Bone Chimera of his own, which I feel like would be very strong. Big thing is you got Zombie Party, which is great. You've got Shadow Reaper, which is okay, but you don't have something like Lyrial. Chimera. Now,
That's two skeletons that the Catacomb has to deal with.
There's
has
a
to
few
play
good
with,
options here.
There's a Zombie Party and the Bone Chimera of his own, but there's a first Evolve Warp for Exodium next turn. With the Lyrial Archer being able to ping, at least getting rid of one of those skeletons. Being able to take out the Conjurer there is really nice.
Skull Beast is available.
Yep, he could Lyrial, Evolve, ping, trade, do all that, and then Skull Beast and Soul Conversion the Skull Beast for that 2-drop. For that 2 cost, being able to play those 2 cards, and you get 2 cards back as well. That's huge.
Yeah. A very comfortable turn here.
Another Soul Conversion and a Catacomb of his own.
My boss works us to the bone.
There it is.
Yeah, that's 2 skeletons going down.
Left with 1 skeleton. I think this is really important because now there's only 1 skeleton that the Reaper can really trade with. I mean, you can play Bone Chimera Reaper, which is going to be very strong.
Jay-Z's already built up 8 shadows. Exodium already has 6 shadows of his own, so Soul Squasher is definitely a very easy play here, especially when you've got a Shadow Reaper as well.
Now, the fact that there's Ector in hand for Jay-Z is really, really good right now.
You're right. You might want to save the Shadow Reaper for turn 6.
Yes. And that guarantees that, especially with the shadows that you have right now, you're going to be summoning a lot of zombies. There's a very real possibility that you can just use that Ector, buff up your Reaper, throw your zombies in, further buffing up your Reaper, evolve the Reaper, and then swing for huge amounts of damage.
Right.
He's going to commit the Reaper the turn before.
Not a bad play considering the situation when there's a lot of skeletons being played. Both players are utilizing Catacomb to their full effect, so you're really able to buff up the Reaper even more in these early turns, making it significantly more difficult to deal with. Especially if you're able to get it above the 3-point health threshold where Zombie Party is no longer a threat.
I actually think this is an opportunity for Exodium to somehow segue into the late game. For me, Exodium, I think, really needs to hit a good chain of Death's Breath right now to constantly mitigate the damage. Now, if he had saved the Reaper, those Death's Breath would almost be working against him because the Ector coming down would allow the Shadow Reaper to buff up and kind of make the fact that you had a bunch of Lords almost a deficit.
And now we're on the 5th orb here for Exodium. And he's got a difficult choice to make. Does he Catacomb Soul Conversion? Soul Squasher is available as well. He's going to need the Soul Conversion. I feel like he needs to draw into the Ector and the Cerberus and the Death's Breath. He needs to get those options. He's got the Immortal Thane, which is nice.
So Zombie Party, we'll give him bodies, but they're just 2/2 skeletons. Without ward. And this is tough. This is going to become real tough. He's gotten good value out of the Lyrial.
Soul Squasher takes out the Lyrial, and then the Chimera trades into one of the skeletons, I guess.
I
Could be really nice.
think trade whatever with the Bone Chimera, save the Evolve for the Reaper or another turn. You definitely want your Reaper to survive somehow.
Doesn't look like he's gonna be able to get it on 5 defense, which would be really nice. If Exodium draws into a Death's Breath, is able to evolve one of the zombies, and if the Shadow Reaper is at 4 health or less, then the zombie can trade into that. Really nice.
Souls, they're so
But he's a Soul Squasher.
You gonna mess with me?
Having the Attendant of Night on board is really nice. A sticky follower that now Exodium is going to have to deal with. But now it's turn 6 for Exodium, and what does he got? What's his turn? Jay-Z's still thinking about exactly how to trade his followers in. Does he evolve? Does he trade into the skeletons, or does he go for face damage? It's 5 damage for face right there. He's got Ector next turn. He knows he's going to be able to get Ector first. Maybe getting more face damage here is crucial. Could bring Exodium down to lethal range next turn, but it's going to be the trading in.
Okay. Now you're on 6 play points. I really... Oh my
Goodness.
God. Kill the Reaper now.
Kill the Reaper now. Kill Reaper, die.
Yep.
Kill it with fire or a zombie.
Yeah, or a zombie. Yep. Wow. Right on turn 6. Okay. He's still not in the clear yet. This is just the first step.
Yep.
Now, he has the ability to play a bunch of zombie parties. And that's going to allow him to keep putting followers on board.
Right.
But he needs to stop this Ector play from doing insane amounts of damage to him. Right.
And there's still an Evolve Orb available for Jay-Z. Could
White
evolve.
King might be a good... sorry, the Immortal Thane might be a good thing.
Right. Either way, I mean, Jay-Z's got options to really close out this board and to get rid of those zombies. I mean, he's got the Evolve Orb. He could evolve Cerberus, trade into one of the 2/3 zombies, and then buff up the Attentive Knight with Coco, killing up the 4/3 zombie, and then you get the 4/4 Lich. And then you can trade in the Bone Chimera, getting 2 zombies into the other zombie, and then 4 damage with the Orthrus. That's nice. That's a good combo. Or excuse me,
Squasher.
the Soul Squasher. Yeah. Well, it would be 2
Rest in
damage
peace,
with the.
Orthrus. Nobody plays you anymore.
That's right, Orthrus. Yeah, it'd just be 2/2. And then he saves, and then he gets a massive board, saving Ector for next turn.
This head can't be taken.
And there's Ector coming out this turn. I like that play.
Gonna use the rush zombies to continue to clear the board here. And now he has a strong board.
And Exodium does not have an Ector of his own to try to clear the board. He's got the shadows for it, but it's going to have to be...
This is really dangerous.
Yep.
He needs some kind of ward presence. He needs to have the presence of mind to put ward down. Because if he doesn't, I mean, what's the best you can do, right? If you put down the Immortal Thane, for example, you evolve and you kill the Ector, then you're taking 3, 7, 9 damage, plus Cerberus dropping on that same turn, and then playing Coco and Mimi to add 4. That's 13.
With
exactly.
an Evolve Orb, yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to get the ward.
Wow.
And it's a shame that the Immortal Thane would not be able to evolve and trade into the Ector and kill itself, be left with some defense left, so that you'd be able to get the
second zombie party, and then the Soul Squasher will kill off the Bone Chimera here. It's so incredible that Exodium had the presence of mind.
Yep.
To
Very nice play
know
there.
that
But he's got a zombie party of his own.
This too. Zombie party 5, 4. So he'll do 5, 7, 11 damage if he chooses to zombie party. Well, no, he can't, because he can't zombie party and play the Cerberus. Unless he plays Cerberus first. But even if he did 5, 7, he would only be able to use 1.
Yeah, he could do 9 damage to face if he evolves with Cerberus and trades in.
This is a very tough situation for Exodium, but he's definitely made the right choices to get himself here. It would have been, the game could have been over in the last turn.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah, very true. So we'll see what Exodium is able to draw into next turn to really give him the options he needs.
Exodium has expended all his evolution orbs. Right?
He doesn't have an evolution orb to use on the Immortal Thing next turn. That's crucial.
Oh,
crucial.
Gosh. This is really tough. Ector?
Ector,
oh my
goodness
God.
gracious.
I'm sorry I said that. So,
okay, so even if he
he's
does...
going to get 4 zombies.
Right.
So he's going to take 3 damage, plus 6, 9. So I think he's still...
Yeah, even with Coco and Mimi.
He needs to kill off the 3, right?
Okay.
So he gets rid of 4 followers, and one of the skeletons is going to banish.
Okay, that's nice.
Right? So there's still 3 damage on board. I think Exodium's lost.
Yeah, he's got 9 damage with an Evolve Orb. Yep,
Yep.
with Cerberus.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
Jay-Z
my
bringing
goodness.
it 1-1.
Don't mess it up. Do not miss Liesel.
He's counting. Double checking the math.
Oh my god. The tournament stakes are so high. Right now. Must evolve. Cerberus. Coco Mimi. Swing swing.
Mm-hmm. Evolve, Cerberus, Coco, Mimi, swing, swing. Exactly that. You could Cerberus, evolve the zombie. I mean, there's different
Some of the
orders, right?
ordering.
Some of the ordering.
But make
can
sure
be
you don't swing
flip-flopped.
swing. Right. And then do everything else. There it is. There it is. Jay-Z knows. He's onto it.
Mm-hmm.
He's onto it.
It's not like it wasn't obvious, right?
All right. Jay-Z leading the turns in the Shadowcraft mirror. We'll be able to win it. There's the evolve. And finally, the Coco for the nail in the coffin there.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. 7 damage to close it out. And I can't. That top deck nearly saved Exodium.
It did.
That top deck
wasn't
nearly
quite enough.
saved
Yeah.
Exodium. Jay-Z, I think, was very smart in saving that last evolution orb. Was so key. Making sure that you had that reach. You had the potential to do that damage. And I think it was just constant defensive play from Exodium. And he kind of had to do that.
Yeah.
So now here's the issue. Shadowcraft, right, has to now go up against Dragon. And we've seen what happens in this situation, right? Will you ramp? I mean, we saw Exodium just blow out Jay-Z in his Shadowverse Dragon. Oh, sorry, it was Blood.
Blood Shadow, yeah.
That's right. So Jay-Z is actually in an interesting spot here. And Red was talking about this, how this might be a matchup that's kind of tough for Exodium.
Right.
But just as much as Jay-Z has been studying up, I'm sure Exodium has also been studying up as well. He opts to keep Cerberus.
Interesting choice. We'll see if Jay-Z's able to come into the options that he needs to pull off this this strategy. He's got Summon Bloodkin too, an interesting 2-drop. I guess you get the 2/1/1 bats. That's nice.
So Jay-Z on the play is actually pretty important here.
And Spiderweb Imp is such a high-value card in this matchup. With 1 attack, 4 defense, you could possibly mitigate the attack from 4 skeletons with that 1 2-drop card. That's huge.
Do you know what those bats are spewing?
I try not to think about it. Could be any number of magical anything, you know?
Magical halitosis.
I imagine it's some kind of energy. You know, this breath, this magic fire stuff thing, right?
It's kind of weird that they have faces and they're spewing things at all.
Yeah, bats have faces. Right?
Oh, you know, for the longest time, I thought it was a dude's face wearing a cap. You know what?
On
That's
the bat?
It's too long of a conversation. But I'm just.
Why
gonna leave
would
that
you
there.
think that it's a dude's
green,
face?
The green on the top is a cap. That little thing that's spewing the thing is a mouth.
Uh-huh.
And that little thing above it is its nose. All right, just think about that. just think about that.
I will not think about that.
Yep, you can't unsee it.
I can't unsee it.
This is an incredible board right now from Jay-Z.
Oh yeah.
But this is expected. Double Razor Claw is actually really strong as well.
Absolutely massive for the Shadow player to get through. He could take the 2 Forest Bats and the Imp and trade into the Chimera, effectively getting rid of it entirely, right? Or he could go for face for an extra bit of 3 damage here. Considering that he's got 2 Razor Claws.
He's going to use it for board control.
Bringing Exodium down to 15 health. Turn 4 here. It's the first Evolve Orb. What does Exodium have? He's got the Bone Chimera
to kill any of the wards.
Yeah, it's real difficult. Those bats are going to be staying on the field for a very long time. At least another turn. With these attacks here, he's only going to be able to get rid of 1 of the wards.
Now there is a Death's Breath, and he's going to be building a lot of shadows here.
Oh yeah.
Right? He's going to have the shadows for Death's Breath by the time it comes up. But will things like Double Dance of Death and Razor Claw could just pierce through the wards? And
Jay-Z,
I think like you're
yeah.
not too worried about doing damage to face at this point, right? Because you know that Jay-Z's going to end up at 10 eventually. So you just need to stabilize the board state.
That's very true. That's very true.
This is it. There's no redraws. You know, the situation of the game is what it is now.
And
Jay-Z is very, very kind of has a strong opening. The only big thing is you don't really have card draw, right?
Right. Don't have card draw. You don't have the... As a blood player, you don't have the options you need. You got 2 dances of deaths. That's nice if you're going up against an evolved Cerberus or something
Currently,
like
there's
that.
no way to even put yourself in Vengeance. And even if you did, there's no cards that utilize Vengeance.
Right.
Which could be the nail in that could be the little change. If he
Yeah.
picks up kind of, for example, if he picks up the Dark General in the next draw, it's not contributing to the aggro game plan. You know,
He's not able to use it.
he evolves for more face damage, and I think that's important. I really feel like Jay-Z needs to go now.
Yep. Man, he's thinking.
The other big thing is there's no healing on the side of Exodium either, so this health that he's losing
Is permanent.
Yeah. And look at all that damage being piled on. So there's at least 5 damage in hand from spells waiting to go. And as he gets to play point 7, he can play both of them in a row.
Yep. Is Exodium able to clear off the board this whole board?
Yes.
I think he could. Yeah,
So
the
you
evolved
evolve and then
Cerberus.
skeleton into 3.
Yep. But you're right. There's 5 damage in his hand. 5 damage to face. Oh my gosh.
Does he have Storm? I mean, he can't. He's gonna have to spend a turn getting himself into Vengeance first.
And
if
even
you use
then,
that 5 damage.
yeah, and even then, the
you can
Razor
board
Claw
up.
and Dance of Death is 7 cost. So he's not gonna be able to play that play both of them until turn 7.
So this is, I mean, that was this is where Blood really starts falling off, right? 5 play points is just about the curve that it hits.
Right. Yep, trading into the bats like that, effectively ruining the board presence that Jay-Z had established.
Oh boy.
You do have the Diabolic Drain if you wanted to destroy that, but he's going to be the Dance of Death to get rid of that.
He passes.
This turn.
Oh, you're 1 turn away from Ector. Oh my
Getting
god.
Death's Breath is huge, but Hungering Horde, evolving the zombie here makes it so that Hungering Horde is not going to be able to
He's
destroy
gonna
all the
have to
zombies.
use Hungering and Razor Claw.
Or Hungering and Blood Wolf.
Blood Wolf.
Hungering and Blood Wolf would do it.
Oh my gosh.
Gets rid of all the followers, but even if you do get rid of all of the zombies,
Oh, you're mean.
Break Horde?
now he's in Vengeance.
Can he win it?
He can win.
Diabolic Drain.
He's got the Evolve Orb too. Oh my goodness.
Diabolic Drain.
Diabolic Drain Evolve. Oh my gosh.
There it is.
Mana Surge's
Jay-Z!
Jay-Z has done it.
There it is. He scouted it out.
Wow.
Was able to do that with that last Razor Claw there. And I have to wonder. Oh my gosh. It didn't even need to go into Vengeance, but the sheer amount of aggression that came out, and I think on the play was so important.
Well, he didn't need to go into Vengeance because going into Vengeance is what made it so that the
Right,
Blood
and
Wolf
then he
brought
get
him into 2
Diabolic
out and the
Drain.
Diabolic Drain was 1 cost.
Yeah, and then he healed back over it.
Right.
So really, I feel like on the play was so advantageous in that situation for Jay-Z.
Yeah.
And was able to earn him just the exact amount of board pressure he needed to get him to that point. And Exodium was nearly out of there. He was so close to being out of there. And I feel like it was just almost like 1 turn away before he really could.
Right.
And in many ways, I wonder. It's too much to think about. But let's take a look at the bracket and see how this tournament has panned out here for our players today. Jay-Z 2-1, and as Red predicted, Mana Surge will be taking the first place spot in Season 1 of the NGE Shadowverse Open.
Red's got to be a real happy guy.
Yeah, Exodium nearly making it through. Tried to play mid-range Shadow, but in the end, the truth about why Bloodcraft was strong is finally revealed and exposed at the end.
Yep.
Both times, ironically, against Exodium, demonstrating exactly why Bloodcraft may be that one deck that you need to include in your lists in Tempest of the Gods. And so Jay-Z with a first place finish, $4,000. Exodium so close, but goes home with $2,000. And of course, that's not to forget the third, fourth players here and everybody else who performed 5th through 8th. There's so many people in the top 8, and EXG, Shadow Nexus, Mana Surge, and even in the top 16, we had Crimson Fencers, right? We had so many people from North America come out and represent.
Yep.
And we are finally at the end of the Shadowverse Open for Season 1. Our champion from Mana Surge, Jay-Z, has done it and has continually, time after time again, shown how strong he is. Now, he nearly made a back-to-back finish in the regular season, the open entry tournaments,
right?
But he was kind of shut down a few times here by either his teammate or by, you know, whether that be Noah or
yeah, the two of them have really been like climbing on top of each other this whole time, trying to earn first place.
And the funny thing is, his final fight was not even against Lest, who was the other player that was so super consistent and was kind of that one, the strongest factor coming into this. It was against Exodium, who is the Week 2 winner, and who hit away and developed incredible strategies, upsetting so many players, going so far. But Sterling, at the end here, what do you have to say about Season 1 of the Shadowverse Open?
I am beyond pleased with the way that the tournament has progressed. We've seen the best players of the best in North America, Jay-Z proving that he's the best in North America right now. Can't wait to see him in Season 2. Can't wait to see all the players in Season 2. And with the new expansion coming out, it's going to be a good one.
Now, from the wee young days of the first open entry tournament until now, Sterling and I have grown a lot, learned a lot, made a lot of jokes about skeletons, made fun of Prince Catacomb a lot.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Skeletons and zombies. Yeah. We've laughed, we've missed lethals, we've desired Abakai on the desk, we've had problems with math and reading both.
It's been a journey, but I think I've grown. I know I've become a better person for it. I know you have as well.
I'm not a better person, I'm just more of an idiot, but
just more of a nerd, yeah.
For Sterling, for myself, for everybody here at NGE, we want to thank you very, very, very much for watching Season 1 of the Shadowverse Open. I just want to say 2 more things that you guys are already familiar with. At WatchNGE, make sure to follow it. Announcements for something that may be coming, that may be happening very soon. The continuation, the follow-up. Jay-Z is the current champion. Can he remain the champion forever? Maybe there's something at WatchNGE that will be coming soon that will inform you about how that may or may not happen. So definitely follow that. And then the giveaway, your last chance, 3,500 vials, do it. That'll help you prepare for Wonderland Dreams. That will help you build
at least one more
legendary card, help you build your Vengeance Blood decks, help you with your Shadowverse journey in general. So thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in and watching Shadowverse, the NGE Shadowverse Open. Season 1 was a real pleasure. Season 2 might be 50 times cooler, 100 times cooler, 50,000,822 times cooler. So we'll have to wait and see. Congratulations again to Jay-Z. Hats off to Exodium for getting second. For Sterling, everybody here at NGE, and myself, you guys have a good night. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you very soon.